And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fulcher versus Shaw. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Sarah Fulcher is suing her former friend, 20-year-old student Catherine Shaw, for the cost to repair her truck. Sarah says Catherine drove the vehicle without permission.
Miss Fulcher, you go to college?
Yes, Your Honor.
Which school do you go to?
Tulane University.
And you?
Tulane University.
According to your complaint, you decided to park your car at the defendant's house.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your arrangement, according to you, was that when you needed the car, you would come by and pick it up, and that there were occasions when she drove your car. And on one occasion, she drove your car, she had an accident, and you want her to pay for the damage to the car.
Yes, Your
Case is about, the defendant says you should use your insurance. So, when did you start to park your car at her house?
I had previously lived at that residence, and I'd started parking there in October of 2000. I continued parking my car there when I moved, and...
When did you move?
I moved in January of 2001.
And your discussion with the defendant when you decided to leave your car there was what?
There was not too much of a discussion. It was a public parking on the street.
I see. So it was just in front of her house?
Yes.
Is that right?
Not exactly. She also gave me the keys to her car, and she allowed me to run small errands.
Did you have a car yourself?
No.
Okay. When was the accident?
The accident was February 19th.
Tell me what happened on the 19th of February.
On the 19th, I was running an errand, and
What
I was
time?
Around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was making a left turn, and as I was turning, a woman in a black car hit me, and she got out of the car, and she was hysterical, and then she was screaming about how her mother was a police officer, and that she was going to go get her, and she got in the car, and I never saw her again.
Okay. So you were making a left turn, and somebody who was coming from the other direction who had the right of way
No,
hit you.
someone that was behind me hit me.
In the rear?
Yes.
So the car was hit in the rear?
Well, it was in the side because I was turning and it hit the back side of the car.
So you called her and told her that you had had an accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Take it from there. What did you discuss about the damage?
At the time of the accident, I was in my room studying for a midterm, and I had no idea that she'd taken my car that morning. I had not given her permission to take my car. I received a phone call, and I advised her to call and file an accident report. And at the time, she discussed that a woman had hit her and that she had driven off after the accident, so it was a hit and run, basically. I then talked to Kathy about payment, and Kathy had said that, you know, it was her fault, you know, she was the one driving, she would pay for the damages. And
did you say that to her?
No, ma'am, I did not. I said, see what the cost is, you know, I'll see what I can do. I never agreed to pay for anything.
Why not?
Because I wasn't sure about my rights, and I told her that I would speak with my parents, and my parents told me to talk to a lawyer before I said anything.
Is that what happened?
No, Your Honor. This was in February, and she told me she would pay, and I'd given her 3 months. I did not take the truck to a body shop until May because she was saving up money to pay for the damages for my truck. And so I've been very
Is that what
lenient
she
with
said
it.
to you?
She said, I don't have the money right now, I need more time. So I assumed that she was saving up money for the damages. In early May, I took the truck to a body shop, but at this time, she had not spoken with her parents yet. She was just going to pay and not tell her parents about it. And it was just going to be between us because it was our issue. And Kathy kind of avoided the situation, and I told her that my mom might want to talk to her mother about the situation to see if we can work anything out, and that my mom would like to speak to Kathy about a payment plan. My parents were willing to help her out with that, and she could pay like a monthly payment of $100 a month. They never got to discuss this with her, though, because then I got a call from her saying that she has a lawyer now, and she can't talk to me, which ruined the friendship, basically, too, since we're not allowed to speak.
So let me understand this. When you spoke initially to the defendant after the accident, is your testimony that she said to you, in sum and substance, that she would take care of it, but she needs a little more time?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Shaw, if I understand you correctly, you did discuss payment of the damage for the car when you initially, just pay attention, when you initially spoke to the plaintiff, there was a discussion about paying for the damage.
Yes, there was.
You at least intimated to her that let's see how much the damage is, and sometime later indicated that you don't have the money right now. That be a fair statement?
Somewhat fair. I told her from the beginning that I did not have the money, and I never said that I was saving up.
But you intimated that to her, because if you say I don't have the money, and that's it, and I'm not paying you, then she has other options. Maybe insurance company, maybe just have the car fixed and sue you at that point. But if you said I don't have the money and added right now, but I'm going to be working and saving it and I'll take care of it, that would lend some credibility to her testimony that she waited to have the car fixed because she was waiting for you to come up with the money.
No, Your Honor. When I told her that I did not have the money, this was when I believed that it was going to go under the insurance. But then after a while, I was told that her parents didn't want to put it on the insurance because they didn't want their rates to go up. And that's when I said, I cannot pay for this. This is not happening, and I got a lawyer.
Well, just a minute. Do you think that that's unfair, Ms. Shaw?
Well, when she allowed me to drive the car, she knew the risks.
So did you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You mean
And
only she knew the risks?
I assumed that it would go through insurance.
You never even thought about it. Ms. Shaw, if this accident for which you were responsible went on her family's policy, there is no question that their rates would go up substantially, and not just for a year. Let me see the estimate for the truck.
The estimate does detail the exact panels that were damaged.
Which panels were they?
The front panel with the door, the bottom corner was pulled under. The long back panel extending over the wheelbase and holding the gas tank was also damaged, and it was bent under to where the fuel tank was actually hanging kind of loose because the bracket was damaged.
Well, that would indicate that you were making a left turn and you weren't in the left lane.
There was only one lane on the street, and they hit me from behind.
They can't hit you from behind on the side of your car.
It was a wide street that we were
So
driving
you
on.
were making a left turn from a wide street, but you were probably over on the right-hand side because somebody didn't hit you from the rear. They hit the side of the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
This wasn't a rear-end hit. And also, Ms. Shaw, you have an obligation. This woman had absolutely no right to take off without exchanging information, but you should have been aware enough if somebody hit you and it's their fault, and they stopped the car. You get out of the car, you look at their car, you look at the license plate, you describe the person who was driving the car. You know, you take all that into consideration. You didn't get all of that information because had you gotten that information, we wouldn't be here today, because if your story is accurate, it was the lady's fault and her insurance company would pay for the damage.
The only information that I didn't get was the license plate because she drove off too quickly.
That's your fault that you didn't get the license plate number. Get back in your car and follow her till you get the license plate number. So there are all kinds of scenarios that you could have done to prevent her from suffering any damage because of something you did. That's taking responsibility for your actions. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,829.08. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah, this is case number 439 on the calendar in the matter of Elite Limousine versus Armstrong. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Who's going to speak on behalf of Elite Limousine?
I will.
Good. Tell me your name.
I'm Deborah Williams.
Well, it's an interesting case. You provided limousine service for the defendant's wedding, picked up the defendant, and I assume the wedding party at the church and took them to where they had to go. Your bill for the evening was $795, something like that.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant refuses to pay. The defendant says that it was very nice of you to send the limousine. She never hired you. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When were you married?
October 26th
Where?
at Zora United Methodist Church in Greer, South Carolina.
How big is this town in Carolina?
It's not a very big town,
How many churches are there?
probably 30. It
Was this on a Sunday?
was a Saturday.
Is it your experience that all 30 churches, well, most of them have weddings on Saturdays?
Usually, yes, ma'am.
Booked a lot in advance, right? So you want to try to explain to me your theory of how they arrived at your church to pick you up at your wedding on the 26th of October, just at the time that you and your wedding party were leaving the church. Explain that to me.
Well, it started about a month and a half prior to my wedding. I was calling around numerous places to get prices on limos. I contacted Elite Limousine at the time of contact over the telephone. I spoke with a lady and I told her I needed a limousine for my wedding. She asked me to give her the specifics, where the church was, what time my wedding was, how long I would need the limo, and so forth, and that she would put the man on the phone with me that would take the information down for me.
Go ahead.
Okay, once he got on the phone, I gave him the specifics as far as date, where the wedding was going to be held, the times I needed the service, and at that time he told me that it would be $795 and that it required a $150 deposit. I told him at that time on the phone that I was not prepared to pay the deposit because I'd like to speak with my fiance. He told me that would be fine, What he would do is keep the information I'd given him, and I had until 5 o'clock that day to call him back with a $150 deposit, and if I did not call back, it would cancel out and the reservation would not be held up. So I spoke with my husband, we decided not to do it, and because he told me I didn't have to call back, if I didn't pay the deposit it would cancel, I never called back. The day of my wedding, I walk out of the church and there's a limo there.
No, now stop a second. That's how they got to your wedding, according to you.
Yes, ma'am.
How many people were in your wedding party that ultimately used the limousine?
There were 3 bridesmaids, 3 groomsmen, 2 flower girls, a ring bearer, and my husband and I, and 2 ushers.
How did you all get to the church?
We drove our own personal vehicles, and prior to the wedding, we had all decided that we would follow each other to the reception. That was our intentions after the wedding, to carpool to the reception.
So you gave up the idea of hiring a limousine?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
So after my wedding, we walk out of the church, the limo's there, everybody's amazed, and I've got a videotape showing the actual footage where we're walking out of the church. As we walked up to the limo driver had the door open and he was standing there, and I said, "What is the limo for?" And he said, "Are you Sherry Armstrong?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "If you're Sherry Armstrong, this limo's for you." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, I don't understand. I didn't rent a limo." He says, "If you're Sherry Armstrong, it's paid in full, everything's taken care of."
Okay.
So we got in the limo.
Got in and you went. And that's how it happened. So you thought it was a gift from somebody. Now I'll hear your side, Miss Williams.
Well, I think it was late evening in August. Miss Armstrong called. When I answer the phone, I always give people rates of each vehicle that we have.
Well, she says that nobody gave her the rates.
First thing we do anytime we answer the phone.
Do you remember her call specifically?
I do.
Well, then I want you to tell me her call specifically, if you remember.
I do. My husband took her call.
Okay, then if this is your husband, so let me hear you.
Yes, ma'am, I did. She called, and she was a very nice lady, and she had some unusual requests. She told me that she was on a budget. We understand that. She initially booked a Navigator. We have a Navigator SUV Super Stretch. So I told her to help her out. I would do what we call a split run, which we don't normally do, but the Greer, the church that she was at, is a well-known church in our community. Our shop is also located in Greer. So usually...
Don't tell me usually.
Okay.
She says, and it sounds logical to me, that if you were going to hold this date of October 26th, that would have required a deposit. What she says has a ring of truth to it, that she was told that you'll hold the date for her till the end of the day, then you're going to need a deposit to hold the date permanently and to show up at the wedding.
No, ma'am. She told me she would like to book the vehicle. A deposit is customary, but it's not something we do all the time. Yes, ma'am. And the reason I waived the deposit in this case is she said she didn't have a credit card. She would pay cash the day of the service. She did book the car. She gave me the information where to pick her up at the church. She said she was going to the City Club. From the City Club, wherever, which was after their reception. And the reason I gave her a flat rate is because we did do a split, and she wanted to be picked up back at 4 o'clock from 4 to 8. The reason I waived the deposit is because I did have all her information, and I had her work phone number, and I had the church. So I had no reason to believe that it was a call that would be somebody, playing a joke or anything.
I'd like to see the contract that you say she signed.
This is the contract. That was the total amount, and I'll explain that to Judge.
I just want to see her signature and tell me when you sent her the contract. Well, this was signed on the day of the wedding.
Yes, ma'am. We send the contract with the drivers unless they request it in advance, and then we faxed it to them. But since it was not requested, we always send it's considered a trip sheet. Each driver has that with them.
Tell me about this contract.
Okay. That contract was explained to me as a damage waiver. 5 hours into I'd already been to my reception. The limo picked me up at 4 o'clock, like he was supposed to. At 4 o'clock, we went to the church. We cleaned the church up. We left the church, and we were at a gas station 5 hours into the reception. The limo driver comes up to me. That was on a clipboard. He said, "Miss Armstrong, I apologize. I'm a new employee." He said, "This should have been signed prior to you getting in the limo at the church." He said, "All this is a damage waiver stating that if you have broken glass, any damages to the limo, you will be responsible for it." And I said, "That's all it is?" He goes, "Yes, ma'am, it is." And then he made a joke, and he says, "Your first official signature is Mrs. Armstrong." Well, I signed it, he walked away, and that was it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You and your husband got in the car, 1, 2, 3, snap, snap, snap. If you think that's a gift, you come out of the church, you stop, you say, "My God, what is this? My goodness gracious me, where did this come from?"
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah and Gregory Williams claim they've yet to be paid for a limousine rented for Sherry Armstrong's wedding. Sherry denies ordering the limo.
Okay, Mr. Williams. You have your driver here?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see your driver.
I'm Gene Thompson, Your Honor.
Did you make a mistake, Mr. Thompson, that day?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Williams, did you make a mistake, sir?
No, ma'am.
I'm not so sure. I mean, I've dealt with limousine services before, and it's not usually handled this way.
Well, it's a judgment call as far as waiving the deposit.
It's not a judgment call, Mr. Williams. It's business. If you told me that you knew this lady, that she came as a reference, that she came through a relative, that you knew her at all, and you decided that you were going to waive the deposit and hold the date anyway, maybe I could understand that. But someone who's calling you from the Yellow Pages that you don't know from a hole in the wall, you don't waive the deposit and hold that date and hold your Suburban. What if somebody else calls you and then she decides at the last minute that she's not going to use your service?
Ms. Williams can answer that. She did call back and she reconfirmed the date.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Tell me about that.
About a week prior to the event, I got a call. I would assume it was Miss Armstrong. She did not say she was. She was calling to check to be sure that her limo was confirmed. And she spoke about the number of people that would be in there. I said the limit in the Navigator is 15 people. She asked if more people could get in there. I said, no, ma'am, that's the capacity. We have a larger vehicle.
I never called back. I did ask them about the capacity, the first call I made about a month and a half prior to my wedding. I never called them, nor did I go down there or pay any type of deposit.
I didn't ask you about going down there, paying any kind of deposit. I asked you about a telephone call.
I called one time, and it's a month and a half prior to my wedding, and that's it.
How many other limousine companies did you call?
Probably, I would say at least 8.
Who was the cheapest?
They were, actually.
Then what changed your mind about having a limousine pick you up at the wedding?
My fiance and I talked about it, and we just decided for $800 it just wasn't worth it, so we decided not to do it. And
I'd like to see your video.
Okay. This is right after our pictures were taken in the church. We were coming out.
I'm watching you. Whose car is the black car? Is the dark car right over there?
The black car there, I'm not sure. That must be a guest.
And it was as you were coming out there that you saw the limousine?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I have to make a judgment. They say that you called and reserved this limousine. You say you did not. You thought it was a gift. That is not what happens when you think that that's a gift. If you think that's a gift, what you say is you stop, you come out of the church, you stop, you say, my God, what is this? You turn around to the person driving the car and you say, my goodness gracious, put your hand down. My goodness gracious me, where did this come from? I didn't order this. This must be some mistake. You and your husband got in the car, 1, 2, 3, snap, snap, snap. Took a picture. I didn't see anything that says, where did this come from? This must be some gift. $795 judgment for the plaintiff. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They made the reservations. They knew it wasn't paid for.
I never signed a contract.
She said she'd take care of everything at the end of the evening. At the end of the evening, they were very intoxicated.
The limo driver told us repeatedly that it was paid for.
They were getting unruly.
I just feel like I'm not responsible.
I told them, go ahead and just let them out. I would handle it in the morning.
We assumed, which we shouldn't have, that the limo had been taken care of by a family member or someone else in the party.
Well, they had 3 hours before the reception, before the driver came back to find out who had rented the limousine.
We had no idea.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Carlton. Step forward, please.
Registered nurse Cynthia Hall is suing artist Della Carlton for the money she paid to have a mural painted. Cynthia says Della did a poor job.
Ms. Hall, you hired the defendant to paint a mural in the nursery, in your baby's nursery.
Yes, Your Honor.
Paid her $200?
Yes.
She painted the mural. You say it was less than quality work. You want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it says she did a reasonable job, and you're entitled to nothing. How did you find the defendant?
I went to a local baby store called Gore's in Sacramento, and they had a portfolio of her, and she really had a really nice portfolio there. So I was kind of at the end of my pregnancy and really wanted to get someone to do the mural for me right away. So.
And in her portfolio, did it list references?
I didn't see any references.
Did you ask her for references?
No, I didn't.
And she came to your house?
She came to my house.
First you called her on the phone?
Yes.
Did you set a price with her on the phone?
Over the phone, we didn't really set a price. She actually came out, and I kind of discussed with her what I was wanting, but no price was set over the phone.
And so you discussed price when she came out to the house?
Yes.
And she was going to charge you?
Originally, I told her $300 for the labor.
And then?
Then later, I realized I hadn't told her that I usually got $30 for supplies. So the total cost, I priced it at $330.
Okay.
And then she told me that she was on a limited budget and that she didn't want to spend any more than $200, including supplies. So I agreed to that, and I came out to her house and did the artwork.
And how long did it take you?
4.5 hours plus.
Okay, can I see the picture of what you did?
Yes, Your Honor. What I have here is her photos. I have the photos from Gore's because she did the bathroom there, a mural in the bathroom at Gore's.
I'm not interested in the photos from Gore's. You made the selection. You selected her as an artist. That's your problem, Miss Hall.
Okay.
And she painted on the wall these little butterflies?
Yes, they're about 6 inches. She stenciled them. I was not expecting those things. I was actually expecting her to give me something more three-dimensional, something that I could actually kind of come to life. I asked for a dragonfly in specific.
Upside down, that looks pretty good to me. She did all these flowers here?
Yes.
Looks lovely.
You can see the eraser marks that kind of still show through. After it dried, it really, really showed through.
Listen, you didn't pay for a $5,000 Picasso, madam. You paid $200 to spruce up your baby's nursery. It looks like she did an absolutely fine job. Baby fine?
Baby's fine.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
Looks around at the flowers?
Baby looks around at the flowers.
Very good. If you don't like the flowers, paint over them.
The pencil marks show through.
You paid $200 for this artwork. You got $200 worth of artwork, maybe a little bit more. Stop complaining. Don't muddle up your life with things that are really unimportant. She came to your house twice. She came first to give an estimate. She gave you an estimate of $330. Then you said, I can't spend more than $200. She said, okay, I'll do it for $200. She came out, she did the work. She was there for 4 hours. Certainly she's entitled to be paid for her labor. You paid her for her labor after the work was done. Is that right?
Yes.
Then later you looked at it and you said, I don't like this. I see a pencil mark. I see a smudge. I see an eraser mark.
That's because after it dried, it really showed through. You could see all
I want to tell you something. You certainly can't see that from the pictures. All you see from the pictures is lovely, light artwork. So concentrate on important things, not things that aren't important. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 464 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Askins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss White, the defendant used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, he had you falsely arrested
Yes, ma'am.
for violating a restraining order that he had against you, and you want him to pay to the tune of some $5,000 for having you falsely arrested. Mr. Askin says that he could have made an honest mistake.
Yes.
That's your defense. When were you arrested on this violation of the protective order that he had?
29th of August, 2002, ma'am.
And when had he received his protective order?
19th of July, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Askins, why did you feel as if you needed a protective order against Miss White in July?
Because she'd caused problems at work. She's caused problems when I'd go out with my friends. She'd come by friends' houses.
Did she ever damage any of your property?
No, ma'am.
Did she ever assault you or touch you in any way?
No, ma'am.
When had you separated from Miss White?
Around May.
So far, is that correct, that you separated in May?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a final protective order?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you consent to that? Or was there a trial?
There was a trial, ma'am.
When was the trial?
The trial was on the 1st of August, ma'am.
Okay. He filed for a protective order because he said you were harassing him. Then on August 1st, there was a trial on his request for a permanent order. For a year or 3 years?
Forever, as far as I knew. It'd be permanent.
Nothing's forever. Let's say for a year. There was a trial. Did you have a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Did you testify before a judge?
No, ma'am.
How could there be a trial? Did you have a trial in secret somewhere?
We had a trial, ma'am, and we were moved to a different courtroom, to a judge that usually doesn't do restraining orders.
I don't care whether it was a judge. Did you have a trial before a judge and give testimony before a judge?
Mr. Askins did, ma'am.
And what about you?
No, ma'am. He just asked me if I wanted any contact with Mr. Askins, and I stated no. At that time, he made it permanent.
All right, so on 8/1, he was granted a permanent order of protection. Now, Mr. Askins, I want you to tell me what happened on August 29th that caused you to have Miss White arrested.
I was over at a friend's house. It was 2 other friends and myself. We were outside. It was late, probably 2, 3 a.m., something like that. And a car pulled up. A woman got out, started cussing. It looked like Mandy White.
Just a second. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're outside, and a car pulled up. Were you sitting outside on somebody's porch? Were you sitting outside on a curb? Were you sitting outside on a grassy knoll? Where were you sitting?
Sitting outside on the porch.
And how far away was the truck?
Probably 30, 40 feet.
And it's dark outside?
Yes, ma'am.
So a truck pulls up, and very slowly you're going to tell me what happened.
A woman got out, started yelling cuss words.
Who got out?
A woman that looked like Mandy White. Got out, started yelling cuss words. I called the police and told them that I couldn't be 100% certain that it was her, but it did look like her and the car was like hers. And from there, they arrested her and the DA picked up the charges against her.
You mean you're sitting 40 feet away and the person actually got out of the car and started to curse at you, and you couldn't tell that that person was your girlfriend or not?
Not 100% with it being dark.
Miss White, before the 29th of August, could you tell me why you were bothering him?
I wasn't, ma'am.
Why would he think you were bothering him?
I don't know, ma'am.
Where were you on the evening of August 29th?
I was at home asleep, ma'am.
Could you tell me where you were when the police arrested you?
Yes, ma'am. I had left for work that morning at 4:40, and we go to Peterson Air Force Base to pick up a van, and we drive it to Schriever Air Force Base. And I had gotten my weapon, and I was on post already, and my supervisor came and relieved me, and they took my weapon away in front of everybody and said that I needed to go to the commander's office. We went to the commander's office, and they then told me that I was under investigation for disobeying a lawful order, which was to stay away from Mr. Askins. Then they also told me that I had a warrant out for my arrest. So Master Sergeant took me to the sheriff's office in Colorado Springs, and they arrested me at that time. And then the Air Force did an investigation also, and everybody was interviewed and investigated while I was
I'd like
there.
to see the interviews.
Yes, ma'am.
How many friends were you with that night, sir?
2 friends.
Your 2 friends lied to the police, right?
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, they did. Seen the results of this paperwork and the investigation that was done?
No, I haven't.
Well, I'll tell you that when your 2 friends told the responding officer, because you called the police and you had some time to talk to your friends before they arrived, your friends told the police that you had all gone outside to smoke a cigarette, and that your 2 friends each told the police that they saw her pull up into the driveway, curse you, scream at you. That's what they told them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And so did you. There's nothing in this original report that suggests, sir, that you told the police that you weren't quite sure who it was. It looked like Miss White. You and your friends told the police initially that there was no question that it was Miss White. Want me to read you what you said?
Sure.
He, that's you, stated that he went outside to smoke a cigarette, at which time he observed the dark bronze Saturn pull into the driveway. Askins stated that at this time, White opened the driver's door of the vehicle and stepped outside. Askins stated that White then began to curse at him. He stated that after listening to White curse at him, he told her to leave, at which time she did. Where is there any question in that statement that you weren't sure of the identity of the person? Then he goes on to interview, stated that he was watching television when he heard someone yelling. He stated that he got up, looked out the front door, at which time he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then Mr. also stated that he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then I have a letter saying that the military has indicated that they will recommend that charges be filed against all 3 individuals for filing false charges against her. Anything ever happen with that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. The statements that each of the 3 of you gave to the responding officer were directly contradictory to the statements that they gave later. That's what it says here. You want to look at this?
No, ma'am, that's okay.
Well, Mr. Askins, how do you respond to that, sir?
That their statements were different?
Mm-hmm.
How were they different?
Well, it's different when you say it could have been my ex-girlfriend, but it was dark and I couldn't be sure. That's different from it was Miss White. No question. That's different. Don't you see it's different?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any reason, Miss White, why Mr. Askins would want to be vicious and vindictive?
Because I broke up with him, ma'am.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
We were together for about 6 months, and we had lived together. And he was very, very controlling. He would get upset when I wanted to see my family, and he wouldn't let me go. So I told him we should just be friends, and we were going to sleep in different bedrooms because I had a 2-bedroom apartment. He said that was too weird, and so he moved out. And then he just kept following me, and his truck was parked near my apartment at all times of the night.
Did Miss White break up with you?
It's more of a mutual thing than anything.
Explain it to me.
We were just fighting, weren't really getting along. And
did she tell you that she wanted just to be friends and that you could share the apartment but not her bedroom? Did she tell you that?
Yes. And I did move out and also left like certain items, so like a couch, so she wouldn't be without a couch and stuff like that.
But she broke up with you. She told you she wasn't interested in continuing the relationship as it had been. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, so can you explain to me what would be her rationale? What would motivate her to stalk you if, Mr. Askins, she broke up with you? Tell me why she would come stalking you and cursing you.
I have no idea.
She's not psychotic, is she?
I don't know.
Are you?
No.
Ms. White, I have to make a judgment, and this is a very serious judgment that I have to make, because usually when you have a victim of a crime, if we were to award civil damages to someone who was harmed by being falsely arrested, that might have a chilling effect on the entire justice system, because people would have fear of coming forward, unless you can demonstrate to my satisfaction or to a court's satisfaction that someone maliciously and without cause filed a report that they knew or believed was either untrue or probably not true, and the police acted on it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we have here? We have a guy who was told to get out of the bedroom, that you were no longer interested in having a romantic relationship with him. He's out at 3 o'clock in the morning with some of his buddies drinking. The three of them tell the exact same story to the police, that they saw you at a time when it was confirmed, evidently through investigation, that you were home. Couldn't have been you. As a result of which you were arrested, you were humiliated, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm satisfied that what he did was malicious. And this is probably one of the first times that I've been so satisfied. I'm satisfied what he did was malicious. What he did is because he's a big baby. What he did is because he's probably too short for a variety of reasons. In any event, I'm awarding you what you request, $5,000. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been pretty traumatic.
Got phone calls in the middle of the night, everything from her.
I think he's just a mean person.
Keep her away from me.
He started controlling her when they were dating, and he didn't like the fact that she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he was doing anything that he could to make her life horrible.
The victim, me, I feel like I am.
Finally, we have justice. Judge Judy's the best.
This is case number 387 on the calendar in the matter of Rodriguez versus Buttram. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I don't want anybody to make me shout today because I have a sore throat. Okay?
Yes.
Miss Rodriguez, the defendant is your cousin.
Yes, ma'am, she is.
According to your complaint, there was a time she moved into your apartment, took over a lease of a roommate of yours. She moved out in rather unpleasant circumstances because there was some altercation involving a daughter of hers.
Yes.
And you.
Yes.
You claim that when she moved out, she owed you for rent. She owes you utilities, according to you?
Yes, ma'am, she does.
For 2 months?
She owes June's rent, which was a bad check. She owes September's rent that she never paid.
How much was the rent?
The rent was $1,000. She paid $500. I paid $500.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about this bounce check in June, because up until June you had paid the rent.
I bounced a check with the landlord in June, and he never got back to me until after I'd moved out that it had bounced. I knew it had bounced, but I was waiting for him to make what he wanted to be done with it.
So that you owe her the money for June?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Good. See, you make things easy. I'm so happy that you're not aggravating me. $500 you owe. Now, what about September's rent? When did you move out in September?
I moved out the first week of September.
Is that right?
She moved out August 29th at approximately 12 o'clock at night.
And you want her to pay September's rent?
Yes.
Why?
Because on the lease that she has signed, it says that she was there until October the 1st of 2002.
Well, that's an interesting issue, because there was an incident involving her daughter.
Right.
Because she has a counterclaim for assaulting her daughter.
Right.
So I want you to tell me what happened, your version of what happened the end of August.
At the end of August, her daughter was very out of control. She was not taking responsibilities in the house. I was picking up after I was telling her that she had to flush the toilet, pick up her clothes, pick up after herself. Her daughter was smoking in the house at 12 years old. I told her mom and I told her daughter, I do not allow this, and I will not allow this. So Amanda said she was getting ready and she was all dressed in black. She had black lipstick on, black mascara. I said, you look like a devil's child. So I grabbed her by the back of the neck. Come here, Chantal. I grabbed Amanda by the back of the neck just like this. I said, you will not be in this house unless there's an adult in here. I pushed her out and I went to work. I shut the door behind me, and that's what I had done.
And that's when you left. Miss Rodriguez, you cannot expect the defendant to stay in your home when you've thrown her daughter out of your home. Do you understand? Her daughter's 12 years old.
I didn't throw her out. I told her that she was not allowed in there because she was smoking in the house because my house would have burnt down.
Is there anything in your lease that says that she can't smoke?
Yes, it does.
Let me see. Okay. Did anyone else smoke in the house other than her daughter?
Stacy smoked, but she smoked outside of the house, so no.
Now, Go ahead.
On this piece of paper right here, when we moved out, you give 30-day notice, they give you a letter. Well, in the letter where her daughter Amanda was in the small bedroom, there is smoke damage to the windowsill in the house and on the floor in the bedroom.
But that's not why you threw her out on that day at the end of August. You threw her out because she was wearing black lipstick, a black
No,
hat.
I threw her out because she got very verbally with me, and she wasn't...
She's not responsible for September's rent, madam. You threw her daughter out of the house. She can't be expected to remain in the house while her daughter's out of the house. The only other thing we have to address are the utility bills. What was your arrangement with her with regard to
The
utilities?
utilities were to pay half of everything.
Okay, what about the utility bills?
I had paid utilities up until, I think it was May, when we both bought cars. And we decided to get insurance together because it would be cheaper. And they were going to take it directly out of my checking account because Mary Beth did not have a checking account.
Mary Beth, pay attention, don't play with your papers. She's telling me why she didn't pay the utilities after May.
When they were supposed to take $320 out of my account for our insurance, and they ended up taking $520 out. She said, just pay it, and I will take it out of your payment for the utilities.
Does that sound familiar?
I told her for May's, not to worry about May's, that I would pay May's utilities, and I did. Stacy only paid me $200. She owes me $718. This is the cable bill, the public service bill, the phone bill, and
Does
the
that
water
include
bill.
September?
Yes.
Well, take September off.
Okay.
Take May off.
Okay.
Right?
$534.37.
How much were the utilities a month, madam?
Utilities ran between $30 to $50 for the water bill, $70 to $100 for the phone bill, and between $100 to $50
So
for
is what
public
you're
service.
doing when you come up with $534 taking the high end or the low end?
The high end.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me about your counterclaim.
Well, when she threw my daughter out of the house, she physically threw her out of the house. I have a picture of the marks that she left on my daughter.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Amanda Bishop,
How old are you, Amanda?
12, gonna be 13 in 7 days.
Tell me how you do in school, Amanda.
Lately, I've been getting lower grades because I haven't been working that hard.
Miss Beltram, are you satisfied with your daughter's performance?
She's a little lazy at school lately, but for the most part,
What about her friends, Miss Beltram?
she has no friends.
Really? Why not?
She's just at that stage in her life where she's exploring, she's become a teenager and she's...
What about her smoking, Miss Beltram?
She was smoking in the house, and when I found out she was smoking in the house, I dealt with it.
What about smoking at all when she's 12 years old?
Well, I don't like her to smoke, but I'm not with her 24 hours a day. There's no way I can completely stop her.
Is this your only child?
No, I have a 22-month-old baby, too.
Other than smoking, do you take anything else, Amanda? Ever experiment with any drugs, Amanda? What kind of friends do you have?
I used to have a friend named Emily. She had a mohawk, and Mary Beth didn't like her. I don't have her anymore. I have Brittany, and that's about it.
You feel as if, Amanda, that you could benefit with some counseling?
Maybe.
Did you ever talk to your mother about that?
We went to counseling. It was for me and her because we were not getting along well, but we got that taken care of. We have...
Yeah, but now you're not doing so well.
I'm working on it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her daughter had ran away. Stacy literally had taken her daughter and literally threw this little girl on the floor.
And later today,
Maybe he's not as smart as all your other friends. When he pays $220 for 4 tickets, he thinks that he's going to at least get to hear a song, right? And he got to hear nothing.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Beth Rodriguez says her cousin, Stacy Buttram, owes for rent, utility bills, and for the return of her daughter's videos. Stacy says Mary Beth physically threw her daughter out of the house.
I'm talking about the other little things that may be bothering you. Who are you working that out with?
My grandma. I talk to my grandma a lot. We're really close.
She live close by?
Mm-hmm. In walking distance.
So you go over there and talk to her?
Almost every day.
Good. That's a good anchor. You help your mom take care of the baby?
Mm-hmm. Change diapers, baby baths, that kind of stuff.
Your mom says no?
Sometimes, not 24/7.
Your mom approve of the way you dress?
I don't dress.
It's only clothes. She's a teenager. She's going to go through this stage. It's the stage.
No, she's not a teenager.
Well, she'll be
She's not a
teenager.
teenager. She's 12. 12 is not a teenager.
She'll be a teenager in 7 days.
But 6 months ago, she was 12.
Yeah, well, she's just going through a stage.
I want to tell you something, Miss Beltram. It's easy to be a friend to your kids and much harder to be a parent.
Well, I try to be both.
If you have to make a choice, choose parent, because you can have a lot of friends, but somebody has to give her the right direction. Somebody has to say, these are the rules. While you live under my roof, I own the air that you breathe.
That's exactly
you
what I
will
tell
do
her,
the
too.
following. This is what you will do. When you get old enough and you can live on your own, you can go and do that, and then you will own your space. Up until that time, I own the air that you breathe. I work, I bring in the food, I bring in the electricity, I pay the rent, I do whatever else is necessary, and you have certain responsibilities. But also, if your daughter is having some difficulty, then what you're supposed to do is explore the whys. I'm glad she has her grandmother that she can talk to. If that's good enough, that's fine. If it's not, I suggest that you get somebody else that she can talk
She's
to.
a really good school counselor, too. She talks to a lot.
Okay. Did your cousin hurt you when she put you out the door?
She dug her nails into my arm, and she squeezed really hard on the back of my neck.
Yeah, well, she has no right to put her hands on you. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So, you have no right to put your hands on her, and there has to be, yes.
What happened was, she came into the house, and she was just going to grab something and then go back. And I was on the phone with my mom, and she looked at me and she said that I looked like a demon child, and she asked me if I looked in the mirror that I was ugly, and I told her, I said, you're ugly, bleach blonde, and she said, that's it, and that's when she threw me out of the house.
She has no right to put her hands on you, and she did. You understand that? The judgment would be for you for $900. That is $400 for the utilities and $500 for June's rent. But I'm going to award you something on your counterclaim because it is unacceptable for somebody to put their hands on another person's child.
Except for, when we lived together, she literally, her daughter had ran away. When her daughter came back, Stacy literally had taken her daughter and literally threw this little girl on the floor.
She's allowed to do that. Well, she's not allowed to do that. That's not the right thing to do. But she's her mother. You're not. A stranger cannot put their hands on somebody else's child. Because when you walked out of the house and slammed the door, because you were going out and her mother wasn't home, you made no provisions for her.
But her mother knew at the time, her mother knew that me and Amanda weren't getting along, so she was taking her daughter to her mom's house. Because she said that to not have us as a conflict, she'd rather have Amanda not there with us.
You have no right to put your hands on somebody else's child. Period.
Okay.
So on your counterclaim, I'm awarding you $350, which means that you still owe her $550. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, that's all.
Please excuse me. Step out.
She physically tried to have her dog attack me.
I don't want her near my child. My child's terrified of her.
We're done. I don't even associate with her, and I will never associate with her.
Now, this is case number 264 on the calendar in the matter of Cochran versus Marsh. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Cochran, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had dated for a period of time. You became ill and were hospitalized for a period of 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
When was that, sir?
August 30th.
It is your claim, sir, that Miss Marsh, during the time you were hospitalized, took your bank card and withdrew some $1,700 from your bank card without your permission.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you started to complain to her about taking the money after you were released from the hospital, you then claimed she filed false stalking charges against you. You were arrested. You were forced to wear a bracelet, an ankle bracelet monitor, which you had to pay for.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in total, you are suing her for some $3,000 because you say that these charges were false.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's start with the hospitalization. What were you hospitalized for, Mr. Cochran?
My doctor said I was under a lot of stress from working a lot. I took a vacation to get away, but it didn't do no good.
So it was a psychiatric hospitalization.
It was behavioral medicine.
Were you self-admitted or did someone admit you?
They took me by ambulance.
From where?
From McDonald's, where the defendant works.
What happened? Did anything happen in
I
McDonald's?
felt kind of hot and felt like I was going to faint, and they said I fainted in front of the counter.
But there wasn't a scene or anything there.
No.
Now, how did you get custody of his bank card?
When Paul was admitted to the hospital, he had bills that needed to be paid. His father brought the bills to him at the hospital. He told me to come up. He needed me to take care of his finances. Paul, myself, and the psych tech had to go to security for Paul to release the bank card, the bank number, and details as to what I was supposed to do for him. Yes, Your Honor, I did withdraw the money, which I have proof of, to pay his bills. I have the bills that I paid for Mr. Cochran.
Can I see them, please?
These are the withdrawals. These are most of the bills that I could gather up. That's about like $900 and some worth. And I also have the bill where he said he loaned me $300, that I deposit $300 into his account.
Are you saying you paid $300 of your own bills out of his money?
Yes, I did.
You have a letter indicating that it was with his permission that you paid $300 worth of your bills?
No, I don't have a letter.
Then you can't pay $300 of your bills using his money.
Okay.
Ms. Marsh, because if Paul is there for a psychiatric hospitalization, you don't do anything with regard to your problems. You only deal with his problems if you're being a friend.
I did that, and I replaced the $300.
Oh,
okay. This is what I was. There's it right here.
When did you replace the $300?
On 9/5/01.
What did he buy on his Zales account? A jewelry store?
He had bought a ring for me. He had bought like a necklace for me.
Did you buy gifts for her?
Yes, Your Honor, but I paid cash for him before we went on vacation to Orlando. There was only one bill that was paid while I was in the hospital, and that was $209.
Capital One bank credit card, $30, $83. Sprint cell phone?
That was her cell phone, Your Honor.
How do I know these are his bills?
Well, because we both had buddy phone bills. I have those.
You paid Sprint $125, and then you have another money order receipt that you paid Sprint $83.15.
For the 2 cell phones.
Well, why were you paying your bill from his account?
Because that's what he told me to do, Your Honor. He said...
No.
Because the phones were in his name.
No, but he's not using them. You had one phone. Who's doctor, a dentist?
I had to have a tooth extracted, and $70, yeah.
So why are you giving me this bill as a bill that you paid for him?
That was one that shouldn't have been in there, but okay.
So I got a Sprint bill that shouldn't have been in there? I got a jewelry store bill?
That's part of the loan, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Can I see how much money was taken out of your account?
It'll show in there what was deposited and what was withdrawn the same day, the $300.
All right, now, Miss Marsh, when he got out of the hospital, what happened?
Paul wanted to continue dating, and I told him, I said, Paul, too much is going on. I just don't think it's going to work out between the two of us. And that's when Mr. Cochran started stalking, and...
He didn't say anything to you about the money that was taken out of his account?
No, ma'am, he never said anything about the money. This issue came up after the breakup.
Your Honor?
Yes.
The day I got home, I received a bank statement showing the withdrawals, and I called her and asked her why she withdrew the money from my account without my consent.
And what did she say?
And she hung up on me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have they advised you to be under psychiatric care?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be on medication?
No.
I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Cochran.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Cochran Jr. says ex-girlfriend Odella Marsh stole money from his bank account while he was in the hospital. Paul says when he was released, Odella had him falsely arrested for stalking.
Now I want to hear about this bracelet. Why did you have to wear a bracelet, sir?
I went to the police station on the case on the bank account.
Okay.
I was arrested in the police department on a warrant by the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department in our town to say that I was stalking her, intimidating her, and invasion of privacy.
Were you doing that?
No, ma'am, I was not.
How was he doing that, Miss Marsh?
Mr. Cochran was phoning my house. He was creating problems on my job to where they fired him out from off of my job. And he came up to the job one day, just radical. He had, that day he had the gun with him. And I left, and I have witness, I went to the police department, and I just was filing.
Do you have the papers from the criminal court which ordered you to wear the monitoring bracelet?
Yes, I do.
Certificate
I have everything.
I'd like to see the papers, please.
Okay,
I got the arrest warrant and everything.
Here's everything contrary. Okay?
Is hers.
Thank you. What happened when you appeared in court on July 15th, 2002?
When I appeared in court on that day, his case was dismissed because the last incident where I had to use the panic button, of which I had a device that I carried in my car every day, which was ordered by the court, and also had a panic button that I was to keep on my persons at all times. Mr. Cochran was out by the apartment building, and the machine didn't go off. That stunned me because it's supposed to pick him up.
Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead.
On July, they said that there was several false police reports on the incident, so the prosecutor and the judge dismissed it because of false police reports. The prosecutor checked in on it which the monitor will pick up if I come in with 500 feet. On the day that she hit the panic button, I was not in the area. Somebody else was driving my car at the time to see if there was a false police report being made. That's why the case was dismissed. There was an undercover police officer driving the car.
Your Honor, I have a witness that knows how Paul reacted during this time.
May I speak, ma'am?
Sure. Who are you?
I'm a coworker of hers.
Go ahead.
I was the one who called 911 when he had the seizure in the lobby. I was the one who barred him permanently from our store because he had come in to talk to her after he had gotten out of the hospital.
What happened when he would come into the store?
He would try to talk to Odella, and she did not want to speak to him, and she had told him that before, and I simply said, things are not going well. Please leave her alone. If you cannot behave like a gentleman, you can no longer come in here.
Did he not behave like a gentleman when he came in?
He was loud, and he stayed for hours, would not allow her to do her job.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have friends that went there, you know, older guys. I've been going to that place ever since the day it opened up, and I never, ever harassed or anything. I just...
No, listen to me, sir.
Yeah.
You were asked not to go back.
I didn't go back after the day I left the hospital.
Yes, he
I
did.
never returned.
Yes, he did. I asked him not to come back, and a week later he came back again, and Odella was there, and he wanted to talk to her, and she did not want to speak to him, and that is when I permanently barred him from the store.
So he came back one other time?
He came back another time after that.
When was that?
A week to 2 weeks after that. The first thing I did was call Odella, and I said, he does not look right. He had the same look he had the morning that he passed out and had the seizure on my floor. Please be careful.
Did you ever see him with a gun?
No, I did not. But I am the one who encouraged her to get the restraining order, and I am the one who had her make copies of the receipts.
The copies of the receipts are...
Apparently they're not doing any good, but...
They're not doing any good because they were all not his bills.
Yes,
you're going to get the money back that was taken from your ATM because she can't establish to my satisfaction that she used that money for your benefit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You are not going to get back the money for having been forced to wear a bracelet because I believe this lady when she tells me that you were in her place of business when you were told that it's not a good idea for you to be there. And my sense is that you were frustrated. I don't know why, either because you still cared for the lady or because you were angry over the money or whatever reason, but that you didn't do the right thing, and she was afraid because you weren't exactly right. Are you under medication now?
No, Your Honor.
You're not?
No.
Are you under any psychiatric care right now?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be under psychiatric care?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be on medication?
No.
I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Cochran. In any event, I'm going to get back the money from your ATM card, but not for the electronic bracelets, because that was probably necessary. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was filing false police reports and trying to intimidate me, making me look bad and her look good.
He became just a maniac.
I hope people that see this realize what women can do to you. You know, they can clean you out.
Hopefully this is over. Paul will move on with his life and just leave me alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Casey versus Mogel, step forward, please.
Business owner Melissa Casey is suing her husband's former best friend, 25-year-old student Anthony Miguel, for trashing their home when they were on vacation. Melissa says Anthony threw a party and someone backed a truck into their pool.
Miss Casey, you and your husband were going away on vacation. You knew the defendant. He was a friend of either yours or your husband's or both, and he agreed to do some house sitting for you, take care of your house and your pets while you were away.
Correct.
You came home and you found that someone had backed up into your above-ground pool, causing it to leak, causing your whole backyard to become flooded and all the pumps and everything else destroyed. That happened on his watch.
Correct.
Is that right? Well, Mr. Mogel says that he did not destroy the pool and cause the damage. It was one of his guests that did that, and if you want to be compensated, you should get in touch with that guest. That's your defense. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, tell me what happened with the pool, sir.
I had threw a party on the 4th of July.
At your house?
At their residence.
Oh.
While they were away in Canada.
Now, just a second. You threw a party. Had you discussed that party with them before they left?
She said I could have a couple friends over.
Shh, please, please. Tell me about exactly what she said to you.
She said, as I was over at their house before they left.
Look at me in the eyes.
As I was over there at their house before they left, and we had agreed that I would watch the house. She said,
look at me, look here.
She said, you could have a couple friends over, just take care of the house, and that's what I did, and I had a couple...
Now, just a second, just 1 second. What level did you achieve in school, sir?
I'm currently attending college.
As a college student, I will ask you this question. A couple means how many?
A couple friends could be anywhere from 2 to about 20.
Do you ever watch Jay Leno?
Yes.
Do you ever watch Jay Leno when he walks around asking America's youth questions like who was the first president, who's buried in Grant's tomb, who was Jimmy Carter? And you hear the moronic answers they give sometimes?
Yes.
That's what I thought of when you said a couple could mean anywhere from 2 to 20. A couple, like Noah's Ark, 2 by 2. Couples, 2. That's 2. You can have a couple of friends over. That's 2. A few friends over can be more than 2. It could be 3. It could be 5. Some people might even say it could eke up to 20. But a couple is always 2. That's why when you call up and make a reservation, they say, are you going to be a couple or is your party a party of more than a couple? Couple is 2. So how many people did you have at this July 4th party?
About 20, ma'am.
That's a
20.
load
20 is more than a couple.
There were more than 20
Just a
people
second.
there.
Miss Casey, does it sound like you're losing? Don't interrupt. Say nothing to him.
Sorry.
Say nothing to him.
She wouldn't know
this
anyway
case,
how many
listen
people.
to me. This case is a foregone conclusion. I'm really just sporting with him.
Okay.
Do you understand? I'm sporting
Yes,
with him.
ma'am. I
I'm
apologize.
sporting with him because this case should never have reached a court when the damage was done to the property. Hopefully, before he even got home, he would have made arrangements with the other person who caused the damage. Probably if they backed into your pool with a truck because they had had too much to drink, he would have made arrangements with that person to take care of the problem. He didn't do that. And even after you said you have to pay for this, he said it's not my responsibility. And he forced you to take time off from your jobs, pursue this case in court. Right? It goes against my grain to just say, you were wrong, sir. Please try to accept responsibility. I have to have some fun with him because I think that that's what you would like. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it would be boring for you just to stand there and have me say to him, you're absolutely wrong.
Right.
Right? I have to embarrass him a little bit. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And if he doesn't understand it, I'm telling him right up front. And I'm not keeping it a secret.
He obviously don't understand.
Well, he obviously doesn't understand. He's going to have to be one of those kids that stays in college about 6, 7 years, maybe.
I'm currently on the honor roll and where I'm attending.
Really?
Yes.
Just tell me, Mr. Mogel, what happened on the date when this pool was damaged? You were, according to you, sleeping during this part of the party.
I was passed out around 2 a.m. and
Right.
the party was still going.
Go ahead.
And I
When you woke up, what'd you find?
a broken pool.
So why didn't you tell them that you would take care of it?
It wasn't my responsibility. Whoever backed into that pool needs to pay the damages.
Your Honor, I have pictures.
Where would you get the pictures?
Sure.
Who do you live with, sir?
With my brother.
Mm-hmm. That's a picture of the keg that him and his 20 friends drank.
Listen to me. He's a fool. He can educate himself from today till tomorrow. If he doesn't understand the fact that he had a responsibility, he took on the responsibility to house it and to pet it, to ensure that your property was safe while you were there. That was his job. In exchange for having the pleasure of living in your house, use your pool, take a respite from wherever he was living, but live comfortably for a few days while you were away. In exchange for that, his job was to ensure the safety of your house, because if you wanted your place to be trashed, you could have just left it alone, and your dogs would have done their business like they did here with him watching the house, and maybe some strangers would have come in, thugs, vagrants would have come in and trashed your house, but you couldn't have done any worse, right?
Right.
Okay. So instead of him doing what he was supposed to do, he had a party with 20 friends. He passed out from drinking too much. All of his friends were probably in a similar state, and they trashed your property. Now, he doesn't think that that's his fault. And if he doesn't think that that's his fault, I want him to go back and take Graduate 101 watching Jay Leno say who's buried in Grant's tomb.
Your Honor,
Okay, because he's a fool. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,013.45. Get him out of here, please.
Sure. That's case number 360 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus Winley. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Miss Johnson, you and the defendant lived together for a brief period of time, is that right?
That's correct, Your
How
Honor.
long?
3 years.
According to your complaint, when he put you out, because he put you out of the house that you had been sharing, he kept certain property of yours. The property was a washing machine that had been given to you by your mother.
That's correct.
And in addition to that, you claim that he owes you for some credit card bills where he used your credit card several $100s worth. He says that you can have your washing machine back, but you have to give him the $250 that he put into the washing machine. In addition, he says that the only thing that he charged on your credit card was a $60 pair of shoes. The defendant has a counterclaim. He says that you damaged his car at some point and that you shrunk his slip covers when you washed them because you were a poor laundress. Is that right, sir?
Yeah, she don't know how to do laundry.
Well, that's unfortunate. I'm sure she has attributes other than laundry.
Yeah, she does.
Good. So get over the slip covers. Now, when did you stop living together?
It was August the 5th, the day after the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis.
All I heard was August the 5th. The rest of it I didn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry, August the 5th.
Did you say anything after that?
Yeah, I said it was the day after the Brickyard 400. That's how I remember, but that's really not important.
August the 5th. Mr. Wendling, I'm going to get you a counterclaim first because I like to dispose of things in a neat way. The slip covers she laundered when?
In July. It was right before August 4th.
But you were still living together when she did the laundry, and she
Yes.
laundered the slip covers.
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't do that on purpose because she was angry with you. She just laundered the slip covers.
No, she didn't. I asked her not to do it. I told her that if she did wash it and dry it, that it would shrink and you wouldn't be able to put it on there.
Okay. And she did it anyway. Now, when was the damage to your car?
The car was damaged on November 4th,
Of 2001?
2002, day before voting day.
I thought you broke up in August.
We did. We have kids together.
Just August 5th, 2002, you broke up. So you mean the car was damaged after you broke up?
Yes.
Really? What happened to his car?
Well, he claims that I
No,
drove
you
it.
tell me. Don't tell me what he claims.
I didn't damage his car. I took it down to the gas station and came right back and did
What
no
were you
damage
doing
to
driving his car?
I asked him if I could drive it. My car was in the shop, so he said that it was fine to drive his car.
No, that's a fib. That's a fib that you're just telling me, Miss Johnson. I don't like when you fib to me.
Can I tell you how it happened?
Sure. I tend to believe you, Mr. Wendling.
Okay, on November 4th, day before she goes to school, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, etc. We have a 2-year-old boy together. Plus, she has a 4-year-old son from her previous marriage. I go over to her house because I just don't like anybody to babysit my son.
Tell me what happened with the car.
Okay, anyway, make a long story short, the day of the 5th, we were arguing about the washer before she went to school. I didn't want my son to hear us arguing. We went out there, she kicked the quarter panel on my car, which she gets, you know, mad and crazy all the time. So anyway, that didn't matter to me. I went back in the house, she went to school, me and my sons went to sleep. I'm a block mason, and I work real hard every day.
You went to sleep? Come on.
Yeah, I went to sleep on the couch.
Let's get to the
She came home, I was asleep on the couch, got mad, tried to wake me up. Her car was not working. She took my car, took it to the store. When she brought it back to her house, there's bumpers that separate the grass from the concrete. They're about this high. I have a Firebird. They're low to the ground. She ran up
I've done
on
it myself.
Okay, and I have
You
pictures.
go over and it goes over fine, but when you try to pull back, everything comes off the car. Is that what happens?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that what happened?
Yes.
So wasn't that easy?
Well, I didn't kick his car.
I'm not talking about kicking it. Wasn't it easy just to say, that's what happened? I went over a bump.
Yes, but
and
I
when
didn't
I pulled
kick
back,
his car. I don't want you
he's
to
not,
think I'm
just a second.
vindictive.
He's not suing you for kicking his car. He says that you took the car, you went over a bump, you pulled back, the bumper came off the car, right? And you did that.
Yes.
How much is it to fix the bumper?
$1,930.
What year Firebird is this?
92.
Oof. Let me see the estimate.
Here's a picture of it. And the estimate. And the kick dent is involved in that 1932.
Is or is not?
It is. And she's wrecked all my cars, Your Honor. Every car that I've owned, she's wrecked.
All right, I can find the fender, because that you're not interested in, right?
Well, yeah, I'm interested in it.
You just told me a minute ago that you
Well,
were going
she's
to forget
suing me,
it.
so I'm going to sue her back.
Shh, just a second.
I mean, what's right?
3 hours painting is 2 hours and 8.5. Okay, now let's talk about this washing machine. Your mother gave you a washing machine as a gift?
Yes, she did.
Did Mr. Wendling put down $250?
No. He says he did, but he did not.
Tell me about it.
Well, his birthday is in the end of June. He acts like the whole month of June is like his birthday month, so he does. And he didn't give me any money at all in June. We were arguing in July, and he didn't give me any money in July. So I don't know where he's getting that he gave me any money whatsoever.
Well, could you please tell me when the washing machine was purchased?
It was in June.
Who went to purchase the washing machine?
I did, and I put it on my mom's credit card.
Can I see proof of that?
I don't have it with me. I asked her for it, and she didn't give it to me, so. Oh, why don't I have it? Because she said, I'm tired of talking about this, is what she said, because we've been going round and round about this.
Well,
so
that's ridiculous.
that's what she
Can I
said.
say something?
Sure.
Like I said, I was a block mason, so I got concrete all over my clothes. I've had 3 washers on my back porch for months because they're broke. Okay, she puts 12 loads of clothes in a 6-load washer and expects it.
Listen to me. What date was the washing machine purchased?
I have no idea. I didn't go and buy. All I did was come home and there was a brand new washer in my. But I wanted to go buy a $100 washing machine from the appliance store that didn't cost no $600. I don't need no computerized washing machine to wash clothes.
You don't wash clothes. She washed the clothes.
No, I wash the clothes.
But I
I've
wash
been doing
the
her
slip
laundry ever since I've had the washer. I bring her clothes to my house, her and her son's and my son's clothes. I wash them, dry them, fold them, and bring them back to her.
What a great service.
Yes, that's what I think.
I don't know, Miss Johnson. I wouldn't ask for the washing machine back.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Shh.
Yeah, he
I
sounds
wouldn't
like a
ask
really
for the
great
washing
guy.
machine back. That's a great gig.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melanie Johnson says ex-boyfriend Tony Wendling owes for the return of property and for unpaid credit card bills. Tony says Melanie damaged his car and shrunk the slipcovers to his couch.
Okay. How am I supposed to know what your mother paid for the washing machine?
I don't know. Like I said,
Well, I don't know.
asked
If you
her.
don't know, I don't know. How am I supposed to know that?
I don't have anything, so.
Well, where did you buy it from?
At the Home Depot.
Where did you think you were coming to today? You come to a court, you say, listen, go to Home Depot and you say, I lost my receipt. I bought this washing machine here a few months ago. Could you please either give me a duplicate bill or something to show what the washing machine cost?
Well, I don't have a car, and he won't let me drive his car anymore after the incident.
Well, I know. She wrecks them.
So you don't know how much the washing machine was?
Yes, it was $300, around $300, a little bit more of a tax. You can call my mom and ask her.
I'm not calling your mother. When you come to court, you're supposed to prepare your case. You say that he put things on your credit card. Where are the bills for that?
I don't have that either.
What do you have?
I have pictures of some of the stuff he has.
I don't want to see pictures. I'm asking for two main things. I need a bill for the washing machine, and I need a copy of your credit card statement because you said he put $600 worth of stuff on your credit card, and you don't have your credit card statement. No, so you have nothing. So your case is dismissed. Now let's get to your counterclaim. I think that she drove... Put your hand down.
Sorry.
Put your hand down. I find that she drove your car without your permission, and she damaged it. And they want $1,930 to fix it. $230 of that is to take out the dent in the... You said she kicked your car.
Yeah,
well, initially...
boost they got.
Speak not. Initially, you said to me, I'm not interested in kicking, I'm just interested in what she did to the bumper. So I have deducted $230, leaving $1,700, which I am awarding you, sir, on your counterclaim. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, he was portrayed as a really nice guy, and really he's not a nice guy at all.
Everybody has opinions.
He tries to make himself to be like this great person, and he's really not.
I do her laundry every day.
As far as him taking my laundry and doing it, he doesn't do that. He just tried, and everybody was like clapping. That is such a lie. He doesn't do that.
Fold it and bring it to her. It's like, you know, what more could you want?
There's a lot of bitterness and anger, and I think that's what it's over.
Stuff happens to everybody. I mean, yeah, you get angry.
I probably need to move like out here and let him stay back in Indiana so we can be like really far apart.
Don't let girlfriends drive your cars.
Don't get involved with men that are 10 years older than you.
I'm not sure which one. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. $300, excuse me.
This is case number 112 on the calendar in the matter of Fong versus Chung. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Fong, you tell a very, very aggressive story about actions taken by the defendant, who was then your boyfriend. For some reason, which I'm sure you will explain, you decided that you didn't want to prosecute this case criminally. Is that right?
Yes.
When did this incident take place?
January 27.
Tell me what happened on January 27th.
Defendant Albert Chen, he discovered that I was going to display clothes at a ballroom dance school, and he became very jealous, and
he went with you?
He insisted he has to go. While we were there, he took me into a storage room. He started screaming at me, calling me names. He also attempted to burn my clothes and burn my face using a lighter.
In the storage room?
Yes, he tried to injure me and burn my face.
You managed to get free, according to your complaint, from the storage room. Is that right?
Yes, there are people there, and people knocked on the door. He left, and when I tried to leave, he was there behind my car.
And he got into the car with you?
Yes, so I gave him a ride home. While I was driving, he blew anger at me. He punched in the windshield and tried to break the window. He also pulled the handbrake, tried to stop the car, and he yelled at me and tried to grab me out of the car. He said he wanted to die with me. And there are policemen behind us, and they took him out of the car.
You were actually taken into custody. Is that right, sir?
No, the police took me out because I have an open can of the beer, and then they thought I was drunk. But
Where did they put you, Mr. Chung?
On the street.
They left you just on the street?
On the street.
You left, is that right?
I told the policeman I was very scared. I do not want the defendant to be in my car again. The police officers told me I could file a police report. And
did you do that?
Yes, I went to a local station and filed a police report.
That night?
That night. And an emergency restraining order was granted to me that night.
And what happened when you got home?
When I stepped into my house, it was close to 2 o'clock in the morning. I heard defendant Albert Chen leave a message on my recording. He sounded angrily on the phone. He threatened me to pick up the phone. I did not pick up the phone. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I knew it was him, so I did not answer. And I tried to call 911. And defendant called in my phone at the same time, so I could not dial out. He threatened me to give him $35 for the taxi fare.
For the cab fare?
Yes. I refused, but he threatened that he'd make a scene out of it and wake up my neighbors. So I brought the money out and gave it to him. He forced his way in. Once he's inside, he grabbed on me and threw me on the ground. He got on top of me. He twisted my wrist. He injured my spine and my joint. And he attempted to rape me by pulling down and ripping my pants. And I brought my evidence of the ripped and torn pants.
I don't have to see them.
The elastic was broken.
Go ahead.
And I started screaming, and he stopped. For the rest of the night, he abused me by threatening me to drain the toilet cleaner. He forced me to smell lighter gas. He threatened me that if I reported to police, he would kill me.
How did it come about that he left your apartment?
My mother called about 9 o'clock in the morning. The first time, he did not let me answer the phone. I said, if I don't answer, my mother will call the police. Then he let me answer the phone. My mother said she was coming over. So then defendant left. And I called the police and made the second police report. But I told the police officers that I do not want him to be arrested because I was too scared that this guy will retaliate.
Let me see the police report.
This is the first police report. This is the second one. And the bottom is stated that I asked the officer to not arrest the defendant.
Why?
Because I was too terrified.
Then why do you come to court now, Ms. Fong?
Because it's 4 months after, and also putting him in jail is very intense, that he will become very angry and retaliate. I also have the photos of the policeman talk on me. It was kicking on my face that was injured. Also on the damaged carpet, on the damaged closet door, the damaged portable closet, and also the burned clothes. The policeman also took his lighter and burned the clothes for evidence.
All right, Mr. Chung, I have a couple of questions for you, sir, because I've read your answer. Now, there is no question that you did, in fact, pull the emergency brake. Is that right?
Yeah, I did pull the emergency brake, the handbrake, yes. I want to mention why I need to pull the handbrake, because I told her to stop the car because I feel we were arguing in her car and she drives pretty dangerous. That's why
I read your story. That's not a reason to pull the handbrake.
Okay.
She hadn't been drinking that night you had. You had an open can of beer, is that right?
Right.
Okay. So the police took you out of the car. And how long did you stand out on the street waiting for a taxi cab?
Around like an hour and a half.
And you were very angry at that time?
Yes, I was angry.
Then why did you go to her house that night?
Because
there's no question that you went back to her house. Is that right?
Right.
Now, you didn't live with her.
I did not live with her.
Then why did you go back to her house after being very angry? Listen to me, Mr. Chung, because I'm very smart. You tried to get out of the car. She wouldn't let you out of the car, according to you. You were so frightened of the way she was driving erratically that you pulled the emergency brake on the car, according to you. Is that right?
Yes.
The police came and rescued you. Is that right?
No,
they rescued you by getting you out of the car. Is that right?
Right, just getting me out.
That's according to you. They rescued you by getting you out of the car. Now you're rescued. She can't hurt you anymore with the car. So, quiet.
Excuse me.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
So you're standing outside it for an hour and a half, and it's very late at night. At midnight?
And midnight.
And very cold.
And really, really cold.
And you don't live with her?
No.
Then why don't you go home?
Because...
No, look at me. Why don't you go home?
Because I was angry, and I heard she told the police I'm making trouble on her, and I was angry. I just wanted to go to her.
So you were angry?
Right.
So now you arrive at her house after having had a little to drink, being out in the cold for an hour and a half, and you're very angry. And what do you do when you get to the house, Mr. Chung?
I want to talk to her.
What do you do? Did you call her and tell her you wanted $35 for a cab?
Oh, I did.
She gave you the $35 for the cab. Is that right?
Right.
Was the cab waiting for you?
They kept waiting for me.
And then you went back upstairs.
Right.
Why did you go back to her apartment?
I was angry, and I know I was stupid. I go back to her house.
So what did you do to her when you got to the apartment?
I argued with her.
Tell me how you argued with her,
Okay.
sir.
I told her, how come she just ignoring me? And when the police come, she told the police just don't know me, something like that, just like friend.
Are you telling me, sir, that you didn't put your hands on her?
Oh, I never put my hand on her.
No, he's lying.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Manessa Fong says ex-boyfriend Albert Chung injured her during a sexual assault. Manessa says Albert terrorized her over the course of 24 hours.
How long did you stay there that evening?
All night.
Did she ask you to leave?
She never asked me to leave.
That's a lot of baloney, sir. That's baloney. Because even if you were only arguing with her verbally, she would have asked you to leave.
She didn't ask me to leave. She let me sleep in her living room at the floor. She told me, because I'm legally blind, I'm visually impaired, I cannot drive, and it was late, around like 2 o'clock, and she let me sleep in her living room, and next morning she woke me up, and then and I left. But we were arguing for a long time.
Right.
Right.
Why do you believe that Miss Fong would have made 2 police reports if you had not threatened her?
Because when the argument, by the time, my language was very strong and insulting her, and she was angry. And I just want to make sure you understand, I didn't do anything physically.
I don't believe that, sir. I believe that you did something physically to her. I believe that you did. I believe that you went there that night and you were very, very angry.
Right.
And when you are very, very angry, based upon something that you did earlier that evening, you, for whatever reason, wanted her to stop the car, and you pulled the emergency brake up. You could see good enough to pull up the emergency brake.
I don't need to see, I can feel it.
Just like you can feel her face. You pulled up the emergency brake, which means, Mr. Chung, that you have a temper. And what she did later on that evening, which was, according to you, felt sorry for you and let you sleep on the floor of her apartment, that doesn't sound like the kind of woman who would not let you out of a car if you wanted to get out of the car. So you got a temper. You've got a temper. And I believe that you punched the windshield on the car. Didn't break it, but I believe that you punched it.
I did.
Sure, because you have a temper. And that was before you were standing outside for an hour and a half in the cold at 1 o'clock in the morning. That was before. After you were really mad because she was ignoring you in the ballroom. Right? Good. You better stay away from her. Because, you see this judge? You may get some very nice judge if you go near her again. You may get somebody who will be very sympathetic with the fact that you tell them that you can't see, you're legally blind, you're a poor soul, all right? You can't put your hands on anybody. Never. In anger. And get away with it. And I'm just very sorry that you didn't follow through. But I tell you something else. If you ever go near her again, ever, it is very possible that you're going to get unlucky and get somebody just like me. Do you understand? And if you get somebody just like me, you're going to go to jail. And they don't care what your handicaps are. Do you understand?
Yes.
Keep your hands to yourself and stay far away from her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000 as requested. Stay away from her.
Thank you, Your
You
Honor.
are excused. You may step out.
I was terrified. The defendant was threatening me if I arrest him and put him in jail, he will kill me and my family.
I didn't do it, and if I did it, after the police did the full investigation, I already been in the jail.
It's completely bogus. No truth to that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of James versus James. Step forward, please.
28-year-old construction worker Cameo James is suing her brother, 27-year-old truck driver John James, and his wife, Celine. Cameo says her brother owes her for bail and loans to help him get back on his feet.
Miss James, this is your brother.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is his wife.
Yes, ma'am.
I will start with your story. About a year ago, you claimed that your brother and his wife moved to California to be closer to you and the family.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometime after he arrived, he was arrested for domestic violence on the complaint of his wife. You posted bail for him.
Yes, ma'am.
That money you want back.
Yes.
You claim that later he separated from his wife and he moved back to Arizona without your wife.
Yes.
And then decided to come back to California.
Yes.
And according to you, he called you and you again assisted him in paying for some stuff to get out of storage and wiring him some money.
Yes.
How much money did you wire him?
I've sent him money, wired him money 3 times.
Go ahead, let me hear.
I believe one time was 200, one time was 300, and the other time was 200.
You have no records of this?
Not the original Western Union records, I do not. But I do have a signed statement from my brother showing that we did have an agreement as to the amounts.
Oh, let me see that. And the bail was how much?
$1,015.
Okay. So according to this, he owes you $1,330. Is that right?
Yes, on that one, yes.
And what's the other money for?
The other $415 is for a storage unit.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
Well, as far as the storage unit, my whole family knew that I'd gotten behind on my storage payment. I was about a month and a half behind. I sat down at her kitchen table, and she, without any kind of problem whatsoever, told me to sit down, and I was going to accept it no matter what. It was a gift. She handed me the receipt. I was in shock because, I mean, it was a $415 gift. She said, just call it an early Christmas present.
No, it was absolutely not a gift.
Well, tell me how it came about.
He was behind in his storage unit. They were getting ready to lose the storage unit, and he asked me if I would help him yet again, so I did.
No, ma'am.
Well, Miss James, let me tell you what I think. Since you have carefully memorialized every other debt that he owes you, why wouldn't you have put the $415 here as part of his loan?
Because it was a separate issue. That first set of debts was due to the travel money, wiring him the money back and forth. The storage unit was a separate issue.
I understand it had a lot. There were a lot of different things. This wasn't just bail money. This was bail money, wire money, everything else. So if you had these things, and if it was just a loan, you should have put it down on here.
I should have.
You should have. But one of the things that you said in your complaint was that you gave him this money, but there was a condition. And the condition was that he not go back with his wife. And since he broke that agreement and went back with his wife, you now want your money back.
That's pretty much how it is.
Go ahead.
Part of me helping him was that he was supposed to get his life together. He was supposed to get his life on track. One of the on tracks was to leave Celine. She's bad news. She's trouble. She's caused him nothing but heartache and grief. I'm throwing away good money after bad, and he's going to return to her again.
I guess he is.
I guess he is.
Learn your lesson. But if this was part of a loan that you made, I must assume that you would have put it on the very carefully detailed memorialized loan. So I'm issuing a judgment in the amount of $1,330. Mr. James, you owe that to your sister, correct?
I guess I do.
A judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,330. Thank you.
This is case number 149 on the calendar in the matter of Haywood versus Wigner. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Haywood, you live in a condominium complex.
Yes.
The defendant lives there as well. She is head of the Homeowners Association.
No, that's not correct.
What are you in charge of?
I'm not now, but during the incident, I was a property manager.
Okay, but you also live there.
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant instigated an assault for which you were arrested. You want to be reimbursed for all of your medical bills, for your lost wages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The defendant says that you were actually the aggressor in this assault, and she is counterclaiming. Now, the problem that developed between the two of you had to do with trash.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a trial with regard to this assault. You were the complainant.
Yes.
And that case was dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what happened.
Okay, I was in my living room playing Nintendo with my son and my nieces, and all of a sudden I just heard a bang, and I looked, and it was trash on my door. And basically, I knew it was Marianne because a week before she had told me, you know how they deliver the city trash cans?
No, I don't know how they deliver city trash cans.
Well, they deliver the city everybody has them now, the city trash dumpsters. Well, they had delivered them, and I used my trash can, so she put a note on my door saying...
She told you, don't use the trash cans, use the dumpster.
Yes, ma'am.
And you put your trash in the trash can.
Yes.
So that you heard a thud outside, and you saw your trash where?
On my front porch against my door.
Okay. Did you see who put it there?
Well, actually, I saw her walking away. I didn't see her put it there. I saw her walking away from there, the only person.
So you assumed it was her. So what did you do?
Well, I went to the door to see who put it there. I saw her walking up. And so I went, I put on shoes, I wasn't dressed, I had on a gown, so I went and threw on some sweatpants and a shirt, and actually I went out, put it back on her porch.
And how far is her porch from your porch?
It's probably like 8 feet. I stood at the stairs and I kind of tossed it back on her porch.
So you didn't go up on her porch, you took the trash and you threw it on her porch.
I tossed it, yeah, just like she did mine, but she wasn't in there.
You didn't see her throw the trash on your
Well, she admits it.
Shh. I want you to try answering my questions.
Okay.
You didn't see her put the trash on your porch.
No, I did not.
You came out, saw the trash on your porch, and flung it on her porch.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened next?
So then I went back into my house, and it came flying back against my door again.
You didn't see who it was?
No, I saw it was her.
And what did you do next?
Basically,
now you got your garbage on your porch.
It was tit for tat. I mean, in actuality,
I asked you what you did next.
I went and I threw it back on hers again.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. And what happened next?
She came out and pepper sprayed me, and the gardener was a witness to that.
So she came out, and she sprayed you in the face?
Yes.
What happened next?
So then when she sprayed me, it's like it got into, because I actually was turning, when she opened her door, I was turning to go back to my apartment. So when I turned to go back to my apartment, when it got in my eye, when I turned back around, when I heard her door open, I turned around, and so it got me right here in this eye. So in actuality, I held my eye, and I went to grab her can from her because she was walking towards me spraying. So I went to grab the can of pepper spray from her, and then we struggled over it. Like, you know, trying to get it away from each other, because I was going to spray her back, to be honest with you, because she sprayed me.
Okay, go ahead.
So then as we struggled over it, she hit me, because it wasn't getting loose. I hit her, and we hit each other, and we struggled over this can. And basically with one hand on the can and one hand, like, striking each other.
Yes.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just not going to get to you in a minute. Go ahead.
Then we ended up over a fence where Mr. had came down, and he grabbed me from behind and choked me and dragged me back. And at that time, Marianne came with a rake, and I grabbed, and while he's choking me, and I'm on the ground. He's a director of the condominium, one of the directors. He owns the apartment or condo above Marianne.
So he saw the scuffle, evidently, and went out and restrained you, and she went and got a rake. Is that what you just said?
Well, he didn't see it. Well, he was upstairs, and then he came down. And so, yes, and then she grabbed a rake from the gardener.
Yes.
And came at me with it, and it's like, as I'm trying to pry his hands away from me, I'm on my knees. I reached up when she came at me. You know, I saw through my peripheral vision a person approaching me, so I just reached up at the time she came at me with it, and I grabbed it from her.
And
then I tried to get Mr. off, because I mean, I'm asthmatic and I couldn't breathe, so I'm trying to get him off of me. Then he starts letting go of me as I'm standing up, catching my breath, because it took a few seconds before I could catch my breath. He, like, I guess to grab the rake back from me, he stepped towards me, and I hit him with the rake. I swung the rake, it hit him in his head, and I dropped the rake, and I walked into my house and I called 911.
You were in fact convicted of assaulting Mr.
I was found guilty.
You were found guilty. You were convicted.
Yes.
Of assaulting Mr.
With a lesser battery, yes.
But acquitted after a trial with regard to the defendant.
Yeah, they dropped charges against me for her.
All right, so now you tell me your version of what happened.
Could I go back a little bit deeper than that?
To when?
October of 1999?
No. Stay with this. If there was bad blood between the two of you, that's not relevant.
It kind of sets the scene, but anyway, 14 cans were delivered in the parking lot along the edge of the back end of the parking lot, real close to one of the units. The only reason they were delivered there was because we were going to do an enclosure out where the dumpster is on the street and then move the 14 cans out there. So it was like a temporary layover. So I delivered a notice to all units and let them know that until further notice, please use the dumpster. So a few days later, there's 2 cans that are full of trash. Well, actually, one was full of trash. It was unit number 9. It had the numbers on each one of the cans.
What unit are you in?
That's not true.
Just answer my question.
I'm unit number 9.
You're number 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
And I delivered a notice to both unit number 9 and 11 and reiterated the fact that we have a dumpster and you don't use the trash cans. And please take the trash out of there and put it in the dumpster. Number 11 came to me and she said, I'm so sorry. She said, I debated whether I should do that or not. And the next thing I know, I get this back on my door. They shouldn't be there then. You empty them yourself and kiss my crazy, which was typical of the conversations I would have with Paula over parking issues.
Just a second. Why did you write her this nasty note?
Well, I didn't. In actuality,
why did you write her this nasty note?
I did not write that exact what it says. I mean, and basically that is copied on there. I mean, because I saw that when I went to trial. I did say that they shouldn't be there, but I did not say the B word. I mean, I didn't call her in actuality.
No, you wrote this down.
No, I wrote that you're crazy. The crazy. Part, but I did not write.
Yeah, you wrote a nasty note.
Oh, no.
You were crazy.
Yeah,
so you wrote crazy. Told it empty.
You know why?
I'm speaking.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paula Haywood says neighbor Mary Ann Wigner pepper sprayed her during an argument over garbage cans. Mary Ann claims Paula instigated the fight.
Can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Put it down.
Okay.
What's the difference if the condominium where you're living says, please don't use the trash cans, please use the dumpster, what's the skin off your nose in taking your trash and putting it in the dumpster?
Okay, I have pictures. It was in evidence, but basically, and she gave me a note. She has a note that says, you know, the dumpsters are overloaded. We're going to be getting a lock or something because we think other people are using our dumpsters. And, you know, don't put your trash on the ground outside of the dumpster.
So, madam,
so there was
talking
nowhere
about
else.
being civilized. So if you get this note and if the dumpster is full, why don't you say, listen, I got the note and I'd be more than happy to comply, but they're full, so I have to use the cans.
She had never gave me that. I do my job. I was working from 8 to 8, doing caregiving for a handicapped child. And I lost my job, making $100 a night, but I never received that letter. She put that on my door, actually, when she threw the trash back the second time. That was attached to the trash can.
I don't know if I believe you. I think that you copped an attitude. That doesn't mean you're entitled to get sprayed with pepper spray. I'm not there yet, but I believe you copped an attitude. Now, you find the trash on your door. Who threw the trash on her porch?
Bob actually put the bag on her porch and said, please take this trash out to the dumpster where it belongs.
Why would Mr. take the trash and put it on her porch? I mean, that's sort of an aggressive act to take it and toss it on her porch.
I didn't expect him to do that. What happened was that there were previous confrontations with Paula Haywood over parking incidents. And I was attacked by her in my home. She came in my home, she tore the phone off my wall, she jabbed at me, and she socked me in the eye. And then her mother, before the police came out, her mother did the same thing. She walked right in my home. I'm getting ready to pack.
So why, those are the things you want to talk about from before.
Right. So,
So you're not happy with these people as tenants.
Right. And
Okay.
I've had other...
Now, after she took the trash and tossed it on your porch,
yes,
what did you do?
I didn't throw it. I put it down in front of her door, and then I walked away.
Go ahead. What happened next?
Then I was with the maintenance man in front of my unit, and I was helping him pick up some weeds and some trash and things. The next thing I know, I felt something behind me. I had previous to that, picked up some pepper spray because of my previous incidents with her. And so I had the pepper spray in my hand, I heard something, and I turned around, and she has this bag that I had already inspected. In fact, here's the pictures. It has that it was her bag. There were 3 jugs of glass in there. So when I saw her hurling it, and it was about ready to come down on me, I pushed the spray. I didn't really know how to use the pepper spray, but I sprayed it. It hit her in the chin. I did see that. It didn't hit her in the eye. It hit her in the chin. The next thing I know, all hell broke loose, and she grabbed a hold of me in the back of my hair. She threw me over the 3-foot iron railing, and she took that can out of my hand, and she beat me. I've got pictures here of what she did to me. I've got bruises on my ribs, my eyes, and my forehead.
Your Honor.
Just a minute. You told your story.
Please get a chance.
Did you see these photographs?
And yes, I did.
Just answer my
question.
question.
Yes, I did.
You have seen these. These are pretty serious.
Yes, I saw them.
These are pretty serious.
Okay, can I please say something, Your Honor?
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm speaking. What were you doing yard work, holding pepper spray?
Because of some previous incidents with...
You mean you walk around all the time with pepper spray?
I do now, since she came in my home.
You
and
walk
attacked
around
me.
all the time carrying pepper spray?
Not all the time. Just if I'm outside doing some work and the parking situation, especially on the weekend, gets pretty bad. And she's not the only one that retaliates. There's 4 of them, and I'm by myself. And these 4 people lash out quite a bit. No one has ever attacked me, though, except for Paula and her mother.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries?
No, let me tell you this. First of all, I'm dark skinned. I did admit I hit her. I did not bruise. She said she hit me, we fought. Yes,
I didn't say. I
just asked you.
Oh no, I don't, because you know why I don't bruise.
The answer is
no. I mean, I don't.
I
do have a medical record.
Then I'd like to see it. I'd like to see a medical record.
Okay. And then. Oh.
All right, so you went and took x-rays, and the x-rays were normal. Is that right?
It says it was a reversal and that means I had a sprain. And I wore a hard neck brace for 7 days, and then I had to go back, and I wore a soft one for 7 days.
Now, Miss Haywood, when you saw the trash that she had put back on your porch, and you see her walking
I saw her throw it. I mean, I was out the window.
Just answer my question.
Okay,
You're
yes,
not going to think
yes.
faster than I am. I guarantee it, madam. You started this whole problem because you didn't follow the rules.
Her rules?
I'm making that judgment. There were 14 units, and you have the problem. That doesn't mean that you are responsible for your getting sprayed in the face. But I have to find out, when you saw the trash that she admits she put back on your porch, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Did you walk down the steps with the trash?
No, it's up the steps. I went up the steps.
You had to walk
No,
up?
it's like 3 steps. I mean, they're not...
A step is a step. Do you have to walk down the steps to get to where she was, or did you have to walk up the steps to get to where she was?
Both.
I have 3 steps down, then 3 steps up. And then her door is like 6 feet or 6 feet from the step I threw the bag from while she was inside.
Where was she when you tossed it?
She was inside her house because she came out, the door flew open, I turned around, she sprayed me.
Now, you were doing work with the gardener?
Yes.
You were working with him outside?
Yes.
Don't you think he would have been a good witness here?
Yes. He was let go because of his slowness and he wasn't dependable.
Did he testify at the criminal trial?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
He did?
He testified, and I have all the tapes.
Can you see if you can find that on the tape?
¿Qué pasó? Cuando yo miré Marianne de la puerta, when I saw Marianne coming out of the door, diciendo cosas totalmente. They were orally saying things to one another. They were arguing. Did you see how the fight started? ¿Usted cómo empezó la pelea? No, porque cuando ella estaba cuando Marianne salió de la puerta y ella también. No, because when Marianne came out of the door, yo me volteé. I turned around.
The witness clearly says that he saw you, Miss Wagner, coming out the door.
I was at my door because it's right there in the same general area that the yard is.
I understand that, but he clearly said he saw you coming out the door, which means that you weren't out doing yard work. I have to believe one version or the other, and it seems much more logical to me that you saw the trash being thrown on your door, you ran and you got your pepper spray, and you came out your door, and you sprayed her with it. I say that because if you're outside doing yard work, it means you're working with both your hands. It's sort of cumbersome to walk around holding a can of pepper spray. In any event, you tell me, Miss Haywood, what you believe your damages were as a result of this unfortunate incident.
I lost my job. I've lost wages. I have a note for my job.
How did you lose your job?
Okay, at the time that I did this happen, I was making, I have it right here, I was making $100 a night.
Just a second. How did you lose your job?
Because if she never would have initiated, I was not found guilty. I was found not guilty, or there was charges dropped against Mary Ann. So she was the initiator. None of this would have ever took place, ma'am.
So, just a second. Is your claim here that because you were convicted of one assault, that is with regard to Mr. and that conviction would never have taken place but for the fact that she started this altercation with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your cause of action here?
Yes, ma'am. And
sorry. You were not incarcerated because of her. You didn't lose your jobs because of her. You overreacted with regard to Mr. You hit him with a rake that they probably considered a dangerous instrument. And you were convicted with regard to that.
I mean, because of the fact this woman her actions caused all this to take place. Because I even have it where he choked me, and I have the testimony.
Let me explain something to you.
Okay, I don't know.
The money that you lost.
She did the wrong thing. She should not have come out her door and sprayed you with the pepper spray. But that doesn't mean that you can sue her because you got into an altercation and then you assaulted somebody else. So your case, Miss Haywood, is dismissed, as is your counterclaim, Miss Wagner. You sprayed her with the pepper spray. She reacted, you got injured, but you were the aggressor with the pepper spray. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number.
You said you had a video. I'll look at the video. You have it?
Yes, we do.
Let me see it.
Yeah, this is case number 172 on the calendar in the matter of Acetella versus Hire.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, huh?
Miss Acetella, you had a boyfriend with whom you lived for about 9 years, according to your complaint. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What was his name?
Leo McCullum.
And you used to be married to Mr. McCullum. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
When were you divorced from Mr. McCullum?
In 92.
And you have children with Mr. McCullum?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have 4 of my own natural children and 1 that I raised from his previous marriage.
Did Mr. McCullum ever have custody of his children?
Yes, at one time, yes.
When he was living with the plaintiff?
Yes, part of the time. Since 96, he had custody.
Which child or children lived with you?
Danielle, Samantha, and Joanna.
So 3 of the girls
lived
with you. Now, according to your complaint, Mr. McCullum attempted to murder you by pouring lighter fluid on you and setting you on fire. Mr. McCullum is currently incarcerated, serving a term of 30 years to life. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you hospitalized?
A total of 4 months.
While you were in the hospital, it is your claim that the defendant came to the home that you had shared with Mr. McCullum and took all of the property out of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
When you returned home, there was very little there.
I never returned.
Did you ever go back to see what was in the house?
No, ma'am.
Well, how do you know she took your property?
This is my witness. I'd like for her to come up, please.
Okay, well, we may not even have to get to your witness. Mrs. McCullum says that all the property that was in that house belonged to her former husband, and she was entitled to take it. Is that right?
No, Your Honor. I never took anything from the house other than my children's belongings. And I have my daughter, Danielle, who lived at the house at the time that this terrible thing happened. And she can verify as to what Mrs.
So it's
Costello.
your position that you took nothing from the house except your children's clothing?
That's right.
Okay, now I'll hear your witness. Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Terry Way.
Miss Way, tell me what you know about the plaintiff's property.
Well, I know that they lived together for almost 10 years, and they acquired furniture. She had jewelry. She had her clothing.
Did you ever see the defendant take any furniture from the house?
I did not actually see her take it, no, ma'am.
So how do you know she has it?
I went there 3 days after she was in the coma to get her belongings from the house and saw that the house had already been ransacked. And there was only 3 people that had keys to the house. Leo, who was in jail, Piper, who was in the coma, and the children. So the children, maybe Paula, I didn't see them actually take it, but they're the only ones that had access to the house to get those belongings.
Did you have to use a key to get into the house?
I didn't actually get into the house. I saw it through the windows.
Did you try to get into the house?
Yes, I did.
Was the door locked?
Yes, it was.
What floors could you see from the window where you were looking?
Mostly the living room and the kitchen.
And had you been to the house before?
Yes, I had.
So what kind of furniture had been there in the living room previously?
There was a couch and a love seat, a dining room set. That's all I can think of at the time.
And all of that was gone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm with you, Miss Heyer.
Okay. First off, I'd like to call my daughter Danielle for a witness. The first time we were allowed into the home, I wasn't even allowed. It was still under crime scene by the police for at least a week. The second day of this, I had to go by the home to have my daughter go in and pick up some medicine. She was escorted in by the police. At that time, I wasn't able to even go into the home.
And what about the third day?
I have no idea on the third day. They were going to contact us. I forget the detective's name at the time where we could go in and remove the children's clothes.
We've underlined the 2 sections that apply.
Well, this is a copy of a newspaper article. This indicates that Mr. McCullum at some point was free on bond of $300,000. So he was freed awaiting trial for a period of time?
Yes, ma'am, almost a year.
When was bail set?
Bail was set, I believe, at the time that he was arrested, but between his attorneys, they wanted it reduced, but our side said no.
Doesn't make any difference. He was free on bail.
Yes, ma'am, but that happened 3 weeks after. He was in jail for 3 weeks before he was released on bond. And I have another article here that talks about the belongings.
I'd like to read that too. The defendant says she doesn't have them. I don't know whether she has them or not, but there has to be some proof that she has them, because there are possibly other explanations as to what happened to the property. I'll get to that in a minute. What's your name?
Danielle.
Danielle, did you originally lie to the police about this fire?
Yes.
You originally lied to the police and told them that your father was nowhere around, is that right?
No.
Danielle McCullum said that she was standing 5 feet from her father and O'Neill in a neighbor's yard when the woman burst into flames. She said she didn't see a lighter in either of their hands. Later, she said she originally told the detective she had been in her room when O'Neill caught fire. She told the jury Wednesday she lied because she was scared.
That's true.
So why would I believe anything she says?
Ma'am, I never got a phone call. I never got a card asking how I was doing or anything. Nothing. After 9 years.
After 9 years and 3 of the children living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, they must not be very nice people.
I had my very bad faults, but after
Was she drunk?
Excuse me? Listen.
She was an alcoholic.
Well, there had to be some reason why, listen to me, madam, she may not be perfect, but there had to be some reason why your 3 girls chose to live with their father instead of you. There had to be some reason.
There is. I was incarcerated.
Well, that's a very good reason.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Piper Acetella says her ex-boyfriend's ex-wife, Paula Heyer, ransacked her home and stole her belongings. Piper says the theft occurred while she was in a coma.
She says it wasn't her. It certainly wasn't you. That leaves old Leo. Now, what could Leo have done? Could Leo have given his attorney the key to the house and said to his attorney, in case she makes it, I don't want her to have anything? He could have done that. Maybe even sent it over to her house. Who knows? Anybody who was crazy enough to do what he did could do anything. And clearly, if he was out on $300,000 bond, he had some money. Where did he get the money from for $300,000 bond? From his parents.
Oh, yeah.
So he could have given his parents the key to the house.
They weren't there yet.
They're out of state.
Doesn't make any difference. Gotten it to them, said one way or another, you get into that house and take everything out of that house. I don't want, in case she gets better, I don't want her to have a thing.
Can she explain about Nancy, the woman that actually saw them taking the stuff in?
Well, I would like to hear a witness if you have that witness. Where is that witness?
She was reached by telephone, but apparently she couldn't make it here.
Why? Who is she?
She's Leo's cousin's wife.
She came to see me in the hospital quite frequently while I was waiting for her to come out of her coma.
Well, why can't she be here?
She said that she would be here, but she had to talk it over with her husband, and we think that when she did that, and since he's related to Leo, that they didn't want her to show up here because it would be a plus on her side. So she never did return the calls after that.
Do you understand my problem?
Yes.
What?
I know where the furniture went.
Well, then let me hear you.
Okay. Leo's brother, McCullum, had put everything into storage because the landlord had got a hold of him stating that he was going to trash anything and everything that was left in the house because the rent was due. So he took the stuff from the house, put it into storage. I have the receipts where he paid storage for 10 months.
And when was that done?
Just a second. Here we go.
And I was never notified.
So Leo's brother?
Yes.
Leo's brother took the stuff and put it in storage?
Yes. Which he paid storage on for 10 months before he took it out.
Well, where is it now?
It's at his residence in Ozark, Missouri.
Your Honor, I was never notified.
With regard to the contents of Leo McCullough's household goods, McCullum, removed and put in storage in August of 1999. I kept it in storage for 10 months, which then I moved some of the property into storage in my house. Let us make copies of the storage receipts. Let us make a copy of this before the plaintiff leaves today. Now you know where your stuff is. You know where your furniture is.
Maybe the furniture, but my clothes, I mean, they had a habit of stealing stuff out of my closet.
I know, but you can't prove that. We're talking about major stuff now. I mean, I can't say whether they took your clothes, whether they took your shirts, whether they took whatever. The brother went into the house, according to his own letter. He went into the house. That's what I said. I said, so he could have turned this key over to a relative, to his parents, to his brother, and said, get it out of there. I don't want her to have anything, because I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail anyway. Hopefully.
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 I'll be there to see it.
Right. So, here's this. Try again. Wrong defendant. Got it? Make sure she gets that. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'll be there to see this man in prison for the rest of his life, and I will.
She didn't never work. She didn't pay for the booze she drank every day. She didn't pay for anything. Nothing in that house was hers.
Yeah, this is case number 191 on the calendar in the matter of Burke versus Martins. Thank you. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Burke, according to your complaint, in July of this year,
Yes.
you moved in with the defendant, signing a 6-month lease with her.
Correct.
As a roommate.
Correct.
It was not a match made in heaven.
No.
It is your claim that 3 weeks later, she forcibly evicted you from the premises. You are suing her for the expenses that you incurred as a result of that move.
Correct.
Okay. The defendant is counterclaiming, claiming that you breached your lease with her, you had no basis to move, and she claims that you did certain damage to the premises. Is that right?
Correct.
How did you find this roommate situation, Ms. Burke?
I have a copy of her ad in Roommate Finders. It's a roommate service, and I went through that service.
Did you find it online? Is that what you did?
Yes.
Okay. So when did you move in?
On July 25th.
And did you pay August's rent?
Yes, I did.
Which was $800?
Yes, I have a copy of all of my canceled checks.
I don't think that she denies that.
No,
And you
I
paid an additional $400?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right, so what caused you to move?
Well, when I moved in, and actually when I came to look at the place, Miss Martinson informed me that she was a massage therapist and that she worked from her home. I wanted to know what kind of massage she performed, and I asked her specifically, is it a
like sports injury massage, and she said, oh yeah, that's basically what I do. And I said, well, what hours do you perform massage out of the house? And she told me it was strictly during the day. And I was fine with that. She was what I thought was a struggling mother who just had a child, and anyway, I don't want to ramble. Anyway, 2 nights after I moved in, I was walking from my bedroom to the kitchen, and in the living room were 2 naked people. The naked man was lying on his back on the massage table, and the naked woman, not Mrs. Martins, was massaging the naked man in the portion of his body that should be covered by a towel.
Your Honor, this is not true.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
It is true. I informed Miss Martins what I had seen, and she told me that she didn't know what was going on, and that she was very upset with her friend, and that she would take care of it, and that wouldn't happen again.
Someone else worked out of your house as well?
No, I had a girlfriend. She was there. She was here in the building. She would like to testify, just not on camera. She will testify that that is an incorrect statement.
Was she using your house at any time to give massages, whatever kind of massages they were?
She was spending the night, her and her boyfriend. What they were doing that night, I don't know.
She was, according to her, giving him a great massage.
A couple nights later, I walked out, and the same naked woman was there with a different naked man. This time she was crawling on top of the naked man.
In the living room?
Yes. And I informed Mrs. Martinson again. She promised again it wouldn't happen. I just wanted to believe that it wouldn't happen again. But it continued to happen. As a matter of fact, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon this time, and her friend had come over with this third, different man, and they had gone into the back bedroom. And when I asked Rebecca about it, she stated that she didn't think that there was anything wrong with it, and that I told her that from what I had witnessed, it was basically prostitution in my definition, and that I'd worked far too hard for my goals. I'm also a full-time student, that I wasn't going to let what she was doing put me at risk because of these strange men coming in the house.
This was after about a week?
That was about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, so you had this confrontation with her after 2 weeks, and
Yes.
whether she was correct as to what she saw, accurate as to what she's
It's not
reporting,
accurate.
just listen to me. You didn't let me finish.
Sorry.
Whether she is correct or she is incorrect about what she saw, you did have this discussion with her during this first and second week of her tenancy.
It was after the first week.
So whether it's right or it's wrong, this is what she reported to you and complained about. Is that right?
Half of it.
Fine.
Not
Even if it's
entirely.
half. I don't care which half. The bottom half or the top half. It doesn't make any difference. It's half.
Okay.
Okay. So what happened? So now you're in the second week.
Right.
Go ahead.
I had finals coming up in a week, so I knew that I had to concentrate on finals, so I basically needed to deal with this afterwards. Did my studying mostly from my office, sometimes picked up the dogs and took them to the dog park and studied there, anything to keep from going home because of what was going on at the house. I didn't want to go home. After I finished my finals on August 12th, I got home at about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I went in back, and my dog was out there with a muzzle on his nose. It was about 100 degrees out in the valley on that day, and he was sick and lethargic. I threw him in the pool and brought him inside to bring his body temperature down, and called the emergency vet.
Because he couldn't pant.
He couldn't pant, he couldn't drink. And I called the emergency vets, and they told me just to monitor him, and he got better, so I didn't end up taking him to the vet, but they did tell me that if he had been there longer, he would have
Don't tell me
died.
what they told you. Muzzle was tight on his face. Couldn't pant, which means you can't get rid of the heat.
Right.
Couldn't drink. Okay. Did you discuss that with her?
Yes, I was actually very upset when it happened, but I realized by the time she got home about 4 hours later, I didn't want any kind of confrontation, so I just calmly said, please don't do this. You know, it put him at danger, and I don't want to, you know, he could have died.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tara Burke claims former roommate Rebecca Martins forced her to move. Tara says Rebecca is running an illegal massage business.
So what happened next?
I basically stayed in my room that night. The next day I went to work. It wasn't until 2 nights later. Miss Martinson was getting ready for bed, and I informed her that I didn't think the situation was going to work out and gave her my notice.
Okay.
The next night I got home at about 8 o'clock, and Miss Martins was in a rage. And she asked me if I'd found a place yet. And I told her no, of course I hadn't. We had just spoken about it the night before. And at that point she started screaming at me and, you know, saying that I use the house as a hotel and I've been gone all day. And I said, I have a job. Of course I've been gone all day. And she said, well, you're off at 3. You know, it's 8 o'clock. Where have you been all this time? And I was actually shocked that she would even be questioning me on that. She's just a roommate. So basically she started getting more and more aggravated and informed me that if I left for work the next morning, she was going to throw my belongings out on the lawn and change the locks. At which point I told her that she couldn't do that. That wasn't legal. And she started, saying, well, you can sue me, but that won't do you any good. And I said, well, you're out of control. And I reached for the phone to grab 911, and she came after me.
No.
So I ran out the side door of the house, and I ran to the neighbor's house and called 911 and waited at the neighbor's house for the police to show up. The police showed up, and they spoke to each one of us separately. They came out and told me that it was illegal for her to do that, and if she were to try to do that, that I should call them back and they would come back and arrest her, and that I should try to get out as quickly as possible, and I told them that I would.
So you moved out the next day?
Yes, and the entire time I was moving out, she was behind me screaming and threatening me. And
okay, so you moved out on the 16th?
Correct.
Okay, now let's hear your version.
Okay, it's really not quite what she said.
Just tell me your version, I'll decide.
She comes to visit on my ad. I liked her, I let her move in. Everything was okay. She paid me the money. The dogs came after, about 3 days later, and they were a problem from the onset.
But she told you she had dogs before.
Right, but she also told me it was a 7-year-old Rottweiler, and it was a 2-year-old lab that was very well behaved. They were not. The 7-year-old was in heat, and the male was very aggressive. I have pictures of where he bit my dog. He bit my dog 3 times, and that is the reason the muzzle was put on. And she was the one that told me, if they get out of hand, put the muzzle on it, it's in the garage. So that is why I did that after my dog was bitten. And the reason why I had the fight with her at all was because she wasn't looking after her dogs. They had escaped from the yard twice. I have a witness here to testify that they ended up down the block twice. And so she brought me into it saying I had to go look for the dogs.
So let's go back to the 14th of August, a couple of days before she moved out.
Actually, we need to go back up to the first week. After the first week, she got upset because of having a friend over, and she said she saw what she saw. I never saw it, denied it.
That's incorrect.
So that day, she said, I can't handle this. I'm giving you my 2-week notice.
Okay.
So then, on the 14th,
Your Honor,
she reiterated to me that she was moving out at the same point that we fought over the dogs. I said, your dog's in heat. The male dog is beating up my dog. You need to separate them. And then she did. She put them a few days earlier in the dog run, but then there's no shade there. So I had to keep giving them buckets of water. I had to keep hosing them down. Meanwhile, I have a sick baby in the house.
Okay,
and so,
so now we're at the 14th and 15th. Go ahead.
Right. And so I told her, I said, you're not looking after your animals. I'm not looking after them tomorrow. I said, I am not looking after your pets one more day. This is not a daycare for animals. It's not included with the rent.
Okay.
So she got all mad at me. She grabbed my phone. She ran to her room. Of course, I followed her because she had my phone in her hand. I didn't agree to let her use my phone. And so she goes, I'm calling 911. I'm like, for what? And so she exited out the side door of her room, and she went outside because I unplugged the phone in the living room so she couldn't use the phone.
Why did you do that?
Because she grabbed my phone. She didn't have permission to use it.
Well, you knew she was calling the police.
She said she was. I didn't know what she was
Well,
going
what
to
did
do.
who did she think she was going to call?
I don't know. I wasn't really sure, but I didn't want her using my phone.
Go ahead.
So I unplugged it, and so she couldn't use it. So then I guess she went to the neighbors.
Right.
The police
She called
came.
the police.
Right.
Police told you couldn't evict her.
And I said, well, she gave her 2-week notice, and it's up tomorrow.
But she's already paid up till the end of the month.
She gave her 2-week notice.
She paid up till the end of the month.
Okay, well, I had someone else that wanted to move in because she had given her notice.
Okay, so she moved out the next day.
She moved her dogs at 9 in the morning, and I thought, great, the dogs are gone. Then she came back a couple hours, and after her and her friend had berated me, and that's why the police were called again that day, and they came to keep the peace. So the police were there the day she moved out with her truck, and upon leaving, she decided to vandalize my car. I have pictures here. She scratched to 3-foot scratch across my brand new car.
Who saw her do that?
The neighbor across the street.
Where's the neighbor?
They didn't want to be on camera.
Everybody doesn't want to be on camera. You must have people who are wanted for something. Let me explain something to you. I take testimony.
Right.
I'll hear a witness.
Yes, there is a witness here.
Who?
Carrie is a neighbor down the block that testified to her dogs being out.
I'm not interested in the dogs being out. I'm interested in vandalizing your car.
Oh, this is the picture.
I'm not interested in the picture. I'm interested in somebody who saw her vandalize your car.
Well, I didn't see her actually do it.
Fine.
But
Let's
she
move
was
on.
standing next to the car.
Let's move on. I'm going to deal with the counterclaim first.
Right.
Damage to the car I've dealt with. I don't have anybody who saw her do it. What about a fence?
Yes. The fence was destroyed by her dogs.
Let me see. Did your dogs do this?
I have no idea. This is the first I've heard of it. She has a dog as well, so I don't know whether mine
How did they do this to the fence?
The Rottweiler dug under the fence, and the lab started chewing on the fence and ripped it off. I made a police report the day that the police came to keep the peace, and they saw it, and they made a note of it in the
Your
report.
Honor, I'm the one who called the police.
Just a second.
No, you didn't.
Just a second. You have a police report?
I
this
called
fence?
the police
Do you have
that
a police
day.
report about the fence?
They didn't say it in there, but they want to know about the car incident as well.
I don't know about the car. I'm talking about the fence.
It doesn't say anything about the fence, but it shows an investigation.
Fine. I want to know about the fence.
Right.
You said
this is the whole incident.
Is there anything in there about the fence? The answer
It
is
doesn't
yes
say the
or
word
no.
fence.
Now, reimbursements of cleaning costs. What are the cleaning costs?
Yes, $70 per hour, 2-hour minimum.
For what?
For cleaning up the state of the room that she left it. I have pictures of the way she left the room.
Can I see it, please?
You have to look closely on the floor. There's about an inch thick of dog hair.
This is the room the way she left it?
On the floor, yeah.
It's pretty clean to me. Next.
There's dog hair on. No, look on the floor.
I'm looking at the floor.
Okay, and the
Looks pretty clean to you?
Looks clean to me.
Next. What else?
Okay.
Defamation of character and miscellaneous expenses.
Right, the biting of my dog.
Forget it.
Was a show dog.
Okay, good.
Okay. The dog.
Ms. Martins, I'm not going to torture you anymore. Let me give it to you as I see it, madam.
Okay.
The plaintiff wanted a roommate.
Yes.
She wanted to live with someone. She answered your ad.
Yes.
In good faith, she came. You asked her for $400 security.
Yes.
She gave you $400 security.
Yes.
She agreed to move in. She moved in on or about the 25th of July. She paid you the entire amount of rent.
Yes.
So that she was all paid up through the end of August. She was so uncomfortable with the situation there that she saw, so uncomfortable that according to you, she was so upset that your friend was doing business out of your house that after 1 week, she said, I can't stay here anymore. You know, this is not good for me. You know, I'm not going to jeopardize my life by staying here. We'll have a police raid here, and I'm going to get caught in the middle of this thing. So according to you, after 1 week, she said, I'm moving.
Right.
Now, she's all paid up till the end of August. You can't throw her out.
I didn't throw her. I just wanted her dogs to behave.
And how did you expect to do that?
She bought a barking collars for them, but she didn't put the batteries in. She refused to put batteries in.
So my
things.
question to you is, you were both unhappy with this arrangement.
Yes.
Clearly, she was unhappy with the kind of business being conducted out of your home, and you were unhappy with her barking dogs. So clearly this was a situation that should just go away by her moving out. Right?
Yes.
Perfect. What monies do you think you are owed? Listen to me carefully, because her counterclaim is gone. I'm dismissing it. She has no counterclaim.
Right. But what about her scratching my car? That's a $400 damage.
I don't believe she did it.
I didn't.
Since I don't believe very much else of what you tell me, Miss Martins, I don't believe that she scratched your car.
She scratched my car.
Okay, good. Where did you go after you left her house?
A good friend of mine, when he actually heard what was happening in the house, had been telling me, get out, I have a three-bedroom house, you can stay with me. I felt my duty as a tenant was to give notice, so I didn't, okay.
Just answer my question.
My friend's house.
Are you still there?
No, I found a place.
You found a place in a roommate situation?
Very nice roommate, though.
Okay.
And she has a normal job.
Your Honor, was not working out of my house. She was there with a boyfriend. I mean, you're claiming that she was working out of my house. She's not
Listen.
at work. She's a flight attendant.
Let me tell you this. Whatever she was doing in your house when you weren't there,
I was
according
there.
to you, listen to me, you're not getting it. Are you thick? I tried to explain it. I will do it one more time. She came, she gave you money. According to you, she gave you notice within 1 week that because of the things that she was observing in your house and she was so distressed, she was giving you notice. That's according to you.
Well, she could
Now,
see
just a
through
second.
walls?
Just a second. What I'm telling you is, based upon what you told me, after 1 week of living in your house.
She was complaining, yes. No, is very attractive and very thin, and she was calling her a crack because of her thinness and her wanting to swim in my pool naked.
Miss Martins, there is no question in my mind that the
She was
plaintiff...
jealous of her.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Roy versus Zemias. Party, you're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Roy, according to your complaint, you rented a room in defendant's home.
Yes.
When did you rent the room?
From January until May.
And what was your monthly rent?
$500.
According to your complaint, there came a time sometime in, was it May that you had an argument?
Early June.
So you stayed there till June?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was to
You stayed there till June?
Mm-hmm.
You had an argument over Tupperware.
Yes.
As a result of that argument, you say you were assaulted, given an eviction notice, forced to move. You want the defendant to pay you for the assault, pro rata for the rent, because you'd already paid June's rent, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Your moving expenses, told you wanted to pay $1,543. So let's take it from. When in June did you have this argument?
June 6th.
Tell me about the argument.
Well, the morning of June 6th, I woke up and I had been looking for my Tupperware throughout that week. And
what Tupperware?
This Tupperware right here.
Those two pieces?
Yes. So throughout the week and in the morning before work and everything, that's when I had time to ask her. So on June 6th, I knocked on her door and she said, come on in. And I said, hey, Nicole, have you seen my Tupperware? And she said, no, and went on into, Karina, I need to stop condensing your food down into smaller containers in the refrigerator. And this was the third time that I had asked her for my Tupperware, and she was changing the subject when 2 other times I wasn't getting direct answers, and where she was directing me, they weren't there. Like the first time I asked her.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
Just get to the
So
point.
I said, look, if I don't get my Tupperware back, I'll just take it off my rent. And she said, well, don't you dare! And she threw her blankets off her, with which every morning.
Just a second, are you telling me you went into her bedroom?
Yes.
To ask? Let me finish my question. You went into her bedroom to ask for those 2 pieces of Tupperware?
Yes, for the
And she was in bed?
Yes.
Go ahead. So she threw her blankets off.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
But, every other
Just answer the question.
Okay.
Tell me, she threw her blankets off and said what?
Don't you dare, and she threw her blankets off and she ran to the door and slammed it open. She said, I ate it! And she stormed into the kitchen. And I followed her. And she opened her Tupperware cupboard and forced all of her Tupperware on me like that.
Let me explain something to you. Don't get dramatic with me. Okay, go ahead. So she...
And threw all of her Tupperware on me.
She didn't throw all of her Tupperware on
Yes,
you.
she did. Yes,
How did
she did.
Miss Roy, you're standing there, so what you're telling me, she took out each piece of Tupperware from the cupboard and threw it at you?
No, she has a Tupperware cupboard, and she put her arm on one end of that Tupperware cupboard, and with all of her force, threw it on me, and I was standing behind her, and it landed on me.
Is that the assault you're talking about?
No, and there was one other.
No. Is that the assault that you're talking about?
That's one of them, yes.
And when was the other one?
Then she kept standing there and screaming, how dare you, and don't you dare, don't you even dare, Karina, shame on you, shame on you.
Listen to me.
Like this.
I hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, this is what she was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
And I said, Nicole, you said you were going to take care of my Tupperware, and and on Sunday your maid came, and I haven't seen him since. And she said, there's your answer, Karina. Look in that cupboard there. Look in that one. And I go over there, and I open it up, and it's kind of on the ground, so I kneel down, and there's my Tupperware, and I grab it. And when I'm down, she's leaning her whole body into me, pointing her finger in my face. How dare you? Don't you even dare. Shame on you. That's it. I want you out of here. And she hit my head with her finger. She had all of her weight on me.
Next. So what happened next?
So then I got up and I'm just like backing away. I'm walking out of the kitchen, and she threw her hand up. Damn you, how can you do this? And that's it, Karina, I want you out of here in 30 days. And I'm standing there, and we're standing in front of Anna now, okay? And I said, good. And Anna stood up and said, hey, and looking directly at me, and said, hey, the babies, as she's looking at me. And I had not said anything through this whole entire time.
What did she say?
The babies. The babies.
Hey! Quiet. What happened next?
Well,
you went to work.
As Anna was
You
saying,
went to work?
Yeah, I went to work.
And what happened when you came home from work?
There was a letter in my room.
And what did the letter say?
It said, because of your histrionics and verbal assault this morning, Anna and I agreed that for the sake of the daycare children, you are to leave the premises as soon as possible. I am hereby giving you a 14-day notice.
Okay. You don't deny writing that note?
No.
Good. Okay. Where did you come to a 14-day notice?
In my contract, Your Honor, I have it's a month-to-month lease.
Yeah, so there's usually a 30-day notice.
Right. And because of the daycare, should there be any behavioral or safety issue, I exercise the right to use the 14-day. And also the tenant.
Is there a notice in your agreement giving you the right for a 14-day notice?
Yes.
Let me see it.
Yes, it's right here. And,
can I see it, please?
Yes.
Good.
There's also a 48-hour, but that's for something more serious like underage drinking.
Let me just see.
In my home.
Okay. With at least 14 days notice given and acknowledged in writing by both parties. Okay, so you gave her a 14-day notice.
My assistant and I decided. Okay.
So that's on the 6th?
Mm-hmm.
When did you move out?
Moved out on the 9th.
30 days, half September, April, June, and November. So what we're talking about is 21 days. Is that right?
No, so I had paid June's rent on May 21st to stay till June 21st.
Oh, okay. So that means that you're only entitled to 12 days.
Yes.
You have a problem with giving her her prorated rent?
I do, Your Honor, because I gave her the 14-day notice.
She moved out before.
And she had announced to me that she would be moving out the following Saturday, which was in a couple of days. And my exact words were, Karina, you're free to move whenever you want, but the room is yours until the 21st.
That's just because you say so.
And
listen to me. Just because you say so doesn't mean that that's so. You gave her a 14-day notice.
Right.
Because you say there was some egregious reason why you gave her short notice. If
Yeah.
she decides not to stay there until that time, that's her prerogative. You have to give her her prorated rent back.
But, Your Honor, the problem is, although she physically moved out, her property was still in the room.
All of her?
Absolutely. No, not all of her property.
What?
The day after she moved, she said she needed to bring her answering machine in because her phone...
What was in her
Well,
room?
there was a lamp, a pole lamp, and then her ashtray, and she said Saturday night when she moved out, I'm really tired, my ashtray is in there, I didn't even wash it, I'll get back to it later. And I did not even go into the room to clean or anything. When I did go after the 20th, when she got her security deposit back, then I went in there, and these two items were in the closet still.
Is that the other
And
items?
the lamp, she had said when she was moving, she said, you can either give this away or throw it away.
And you should have done that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karina Roy says former landlord Nicole Zimius assaulted her with Tupperware.
Okay, what items do you think suggest that she still occupied the room? The teddy bear in the cup?
Well,
listen to me, speak.
The lamp.
The lamp she told you to get rid of.
The ashtray, and these two things, with the kind of ups and downs that we've had in her stay, I was not about to even go into the room, and I didn't.
That's fine. That's your prerogative. You did, you didn't. I don't care whether you did or whether you didn't. Clearly, you gave her a notice because you didn't want her around. You felt as if you wanted to give her 2 weeks to get out. That's fine. I find that she elected to move out before. I believe she's entitled to do that. She doesn't want to be there if you don't want her there. She moved out. She gets her portion of the rent back that she paid, because I don't consider that a cup and her teddy bear leaving property in the house so that you couldn't rent the room again if you wanted to. All right. Now next, you want her to pay your moving expenses. Is that right?
Yes.
Wrong. So we've just dealt with that. You don't get your moving expenses. Now, damages due to the assault. I'm prepared to hear you if you want to tell me what your damages were as a result of the assault.
Because of this, I mean, the way I physically felt, okay, was just like somebody just ripped I just felt hollow in here. I mean, I did not feel stable at all. My driving
You're not
has
stable. Anybody that walks into a bedroom, somebody's sleeping in their bed, to ask for 2 pieces of Tupperware and start an argument with them while they're in bed over 2 pieces of Tupperware isn't too stable.
Okay.
To start with.
Well, because
$500 divided by 30 equals $16.66. Clear that?
Yeah, just multiply.
What?
Just multiply.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Wait a second. I'm learning how to use this machine.
Okay, I'm trying to tell you.
Just a minute. Times 12 equals $199.92. That you are entitled to. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $199.92. Thank you. You want to give her back a bear?
Certainly.
Perfect. Bird, would you take care of the bear in the cup?
Sure. Parties are excused. You may step out.
She fought with all the tenants. She fought with me. She fought with my 2 sons who don't even live there anymore.
Absolutely not. I'm such a meek, shy person. I bowed down to them and I stayed out of their way.
All parties in the matter of Anderson versus Liebler, step forward, please.
22-year-old homemaker Shauna Anderson is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old clerk Caleb Liebler, for an unpaid loan for bail. Caleb says he paid her back.
Miss Anderson, the defendant was a former boyfriend of yours.
Yes.
There came a time when you were angry with him about something, and according to you, you knew that he had stolen something.
Yes.
A stereo, a car stereo. And in order to get back at him, you told the person from whom he had stolen the stereo that he stole the stereo. Is that right?
It wasn't really to get back at him. I knew the person. And
a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You weren't being a good Samaritan.
No.
He was arrested.
Yes.
And you felt a little bit guilty, so you decided you would help him out and bail him out.
Yes.
The bail money was $500.
Yes.
Then, according to you, he asked you if he could use that bail money to pay his lawyer.
Yes.
You said, okay, but
Yes.
it's a loan.
Yes.
Now, you, Mr. Liebler, acknowledged that it was a loan.
Yes.
Your defense is that you paid her back.
Yes.
Okay? So now we have the facts, and now you have to show me how you paid her back. Right?
Yes.
When did you take the $500 and give it to the lawyer? What date?
Sometime in April.
April
of
5th.
2000.
Of 2000?
Of 2000. This case is 14 months old.
When did you pay her back?
I paid her back from that point on until I left for jail at the end of August.
How did you pay her?
I paid her in...
Don't look at me. Don't look at
I'm
the
sorry.
spy.
I paid her back in payments. We worked together at Friendly's. We lived together.
From April until August?
Earlier than that.
He did not live.
I lived with her
Don't
in that
speak.
residence from February until May.
When did you start paying her back? After you separated?
I started paying her back after I left.
After you left the house?
I went back home, still working with her though, at Friendly's. We ended up getting back together.
Okay.
I did not move back with her. I stayed at home, but we were together.
You saw each other?
Right.
Fine.
And whenever she needed money on the weekends, she'd come up to me saying, "You owe me money. I need money this weekend. I'm broke. Can I get paid? You know, can you give me something?" So I would give her $60, $80 here and there. She does not have a license. She doesn't have a car.
Don't go into extraneous stuff.
I'm not.
You would give us $60, $80.
I'm not.
You have to tell me when.
When? On weekends, Fridays, Saturday nights.
May
Like,
2000.
I don't want to hear from you now. It's up to him to convince me that he's paid you back. So I have weekends, $60 or $80.
Yeah, from
correct?
the end of May through June, on weekends, Friday, Saturday nights. She comes up to me at work. "I want to go to a rave. I want to go to the club. I want to go out this weekend. I have no money. Do you have something for me?" Would she even ask me for a receipt, but I'm being at work. I'm a cook. I'm greasy and stuff like that. I'm not going to take a receipt and stuff in my pocket. So I just never asked for a receipt. I would give her money on weekends. She lived a half an hour from her job, so there was certain times where I'd actually give her money for hotel rooms to stay in, so she did not have to drive back up to Saratoga, to go home, because she doesn't have a car. Sometimes we'd work until 2 o'clock in the morning. I paid for hotel rooms just for her to stay in.
You stayed in them too.
Right. Right?
Sometimes.
All the time.
Not all the time.
Miss Anderson,
we
stop doing the weave dance and keep your mouth closed until I ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
What else, Mr. Liebler?
What else? I'll have to say that while I was living with her, there was many expenses.
No, I'm not talking about before. Before May, I'm not interested in.
I gave her money, handouts, whenever she needed it.
Handouts is not the return of a loan.
But that's what it was in terms of. That's what she'd bring up.
Just a
She'd bring
second.
up, "You owe me money."
Mr. Liebler, you added in this pot motel rooms that you paid for that you also stayed in.
No, not all the time.
Yeah.
How many times?
I'd say twice. I'd say at least twice.
At least twice, maybe 3 times.
No, twice.
Well, get a receipt. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Next time, get a receipt.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Merrick versus Black. Step forward, please.
19-year-old salesperson Kathleen Merrick is suing her former friend, 19-year-old college student Catherine Black, for the return of a snowboard.
All right, Miss Merrick, you and Miss Black used to be friends. It is your claim that you loaned her a snowboard. While you were friends, you're no longer friends. You want it back. She said it was a gift, right?
Yes.
That's what this is about. When did the snowboard leave your possession and go into her possession?
About a year ago, around this time.
Tell me how that happened.
We were friends and she wanted to go snowboarding and I had an extra snowboard, so I lent it to her.
Where'd you get an extra snowboard
I had
from?
2 snowboards.
From where?
My mom bought them for me.
No, that's not true. Your mother did not buy both for you.
I had 2 snowboards at my house. I
didn't ask you whether you had 2 at your house. I said to you, where did you get them? And you just said your mother bought both of them for you. That's not true. One your mother may have bought for you. Where did the other one come from?
The other one was purchased by my mother too.
Where did the other one come from?
At first she bought one and she went snowboarding and she wound up doing something on the mountain and it broke. So her mom sent it away, and while her mom bought her a new one, while it was away, it shipped away. And by the time they got it back, she already had her other one.
I'm going to read you from your answer. You said it started in October when she broke up with her ex-boyfriend and decided to get back a snowboard that was given to him as a gift while they were together. Did you forget that you wrote that?
No, not at all.
We went and asked his younger sister to go up and get it without him knowing. Once we got it in the car, she decided she had no use for it. Doesn't that sound familiar to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So according to your answer, she had given the snowboard to an old boyfriend as a present. When they broke up, the 2 of you went and took it back, right?
Yes.
And he wasn't there at the time. He got in the car and she said, I have one already, so you could have this one.
Yes.
I'm so glad at least I had my story straight. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes. we went to go get the snowboard back from the person's house, and I had the snowboard, and I lent it to her to use because we were going to go snowboarding together.
And she gave it to me as a gift because...
Get out of here.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 222 on the calendar in the matter of Mendoza versus Orozco. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Well, you're the two fathers. Both daughters here?
Yes. Yes.
Why don't the two fathers sit down for a minute and have the two girls up here? Your first name is?
Cinnamon.
And yours?
Irene.
You were using your father's car?
Yeah, he's the primary owner, but we're both on the car.
He's the owner?
Yeah.
What kind of car were you driving?
2001 Kia Rio.
Is she a friend of yours?
Yeah.
How long have you known her?
We've known each other for about 3 years.
And you knew how old she was at the time of this accident?
Yeah.
And you knew she didn't have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Tell me on what day this accident occurred.
On July 4th.
And you tell me in your own words how she came into possession of the car, of your father's car.
We were riding around in Chino, where her father lives, and just looking around different stores. And then I had to go to work, and I had like a whole bunch of my clothes in the back. And we had like both of us come up with the idea of, well, since I'm at work and I don't get out till like way early in the morning, she said, well, maybe I could take the clothes to my father's house. And I said, okay, that sounds fine. I trust you. And so I gave her the keys to the car, and then she took the car, and I was at work, and after that I got a phone call at work that my car had been in an accident.
Did you ask her if you could have the car?
No. It was a mutual decision that if she drove to work, and I would drive the car back to my father's house.
Did you have any discussion about you not having a license?
Yes.
Tell me about that discussion.
She was like, you don't have a license, and I was like, I know. I don't know. It's just I don't have a license. And then she was like, well, I was like, oh, I'm a safe driver. And she was like, okay.
Now, how did you have this accident?
I was after she had dropped. I took the car I got on the freeway, and I was driving back to Chino. We were in City of Industry. I was in the farthest left lane, but not the carpool lane. I guess the fastest lane. And
fastest lane.
I was going
without a license.
I was going 65.
Yeah.
And
she's going 20.
Okay, I was going 65.
Anything. Go ahead.
There was a blue van on the side of me and a white Camry tailgating me, and there was a car coming up on the carpool lane. Half of the car was in front of the Kia, and then it started moving into my lane. The white Camry was...
It's getting too complicated. How did you have the accident?
I'm telling you.
Well, it's getting too complicated. Did you hit somebody or did they hit you?
No, nobody hit nobody. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, just tell me, the car flipped over, the car hit a guardrail?
No, I slammed on the brakes to avoid hitting somebody, and it hit the back end, hit the guardrail, and I swerved to the exit lane, by the Diamond Bar exit.
Okay. Or wouldn't have happened if you weren't behind the wheel of the car.
I know.
And maybe wouldn't have happened if you weren't driving in the passing lane.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what's the damage on the car?
The total damage came to about $7,000.
Mm-hmm. Now I'll have the fathers up here. With the girls. Stay with the girls. Mr. Roscoe, you are divorced from your daughter's mother, is that right?
Yes.
Who does she live with?
Her mother.
Is that by a court order?
Yes.
So her mother has custody of the child?
Yes.
And you pay child support?
Yes, I do. Where I used to, not no more.
No more because she turned 18?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Mendoza, according to your complaint, you contacted the mother
yes.
of this young lady, and you said it is your view that this accident was the fault of both girls?
Yes.
So that you should split the cost?
Exactly.
And her mother said, okay, I'll pay $1,500, and her father should pay $1,500.
Well, originally, Judge, what I had intended to do was file a claim for $5,000. Total damage was about $7,000. What I did then...
File a claim against who?
Against both of them for $5,000. Both her father and mother.
I thought you were going to file a claim for $5,000 against your daughter.
No.
Why not? It's her fault.
Well, I felt it was both their fault.
Oh, did you?
Okay. So because of that, I figured it was only fair for me to file a claim, not for $5,000, but make my daughter be responsible for more than half of the damage because she was equally as fault for giving her the keys. So I figured it was $3,000 settlement was more than justified. So that's what I did. I went for the $3,000. Irene's mother said she agreed with that and paid me $1,500. She said I would get the other $1,500. I would have to get the other $1,500 from Mr. Orozco. I then sent a letter to him stating this.
Why didn't you send a letter to your insurance company?
Because the insurance company will not cover it.
Why not?
They said that because of the driver involved in the accident was under 25 and did not have a license.
Right.
We did contact the insurance company.
Of course you did. And they disclaimed because you gave the car to your daughter to drive, your daughter did the wrong thing, and your insurance company wouldn't cover the damage.
Exactly.
Why do you think that he should?
Well, because his daughter was driving, I felt they were both irresponsible, so why not?
He doesn't have custody of his daughter.
He had custody at that time. They were staying at his home.
Judge Judy. 18-year-old Cinnamon Mendoza says she loaned her car to friend 18-year-old Irene Orozco. Cinnamon claims Irene drove it on the freeway and wrecked it.
Her mother cannot obligate him just because she says get the other half
I didn't
from
ask her
him.
to obligate him. I asked him for it. I didn't say anything to her about obligating him.
It was aware to us that her mother said on the divorce decree that they had joint custody, but Irene chose to live with her mother, and they have 2 other sons that live with him, but they do have joint custody.
What does Irene do now? Does Irene go to school?
I have a full-time job. I was going to school, but I couldn't pay for it to go to JC.
But now you have a full-time job.
Yes, and I need to pay this off. If I had to pay my my aunt back.
For what?
Because she let my mother borrow the $1,500.
Oh, she did. So first you paid your aunt back.
I need to pay my aunt back. That's why I got a full-time job.
Oh, that's fine. And now you're 18?
Yes.
What kind of work are you doing?
I'm working at fast food right now.
Are you living at home?
Yes, I do.
So you have no expenses until you pay this off?
I'm paying my bills that I have, the phone bill, and whatever my expenses, my personal needs, my clothing, my shoes, everything.
Right. You see no reason for your father to pay this, do you?
No, I don't.
Good, I don't either.
I think that's unfair, but that's up to you.
Oh, I don't think that that's unfair, Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, it is.
I will draw an analogy for you, sir. Let us assume that Irene, instead of being 17 years old at the time of this accident, was 10 years old. Still a minor, right? Still a minor, still had no driver's license. And your daughter said, you want to take the car for a little spin? She's 10. You think her father should be responsible?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Well, that's your opinion. My opinion is he should.
No. In the eye of the law, she's the adult. She's 18. You have deemed your daughter responsible enough to drive, to be totally responsible for the safety of a weapon. Car can be used in the hands of somebody who is not responsible as a weapon. You gave her that responsibility. He didn't give his daughter the responsibility of driving the car. I don't know how old you have to be to get a license. 16, 17, 18, what do you have to be?
17 and a half.
17 and a half. So for some reason, she did not have a driver's license. Now, I don't know whether that's because her parents decided she wasn't mature enough, her parents decided that it wasn't the right thing when she was 17, but she didn't have a driver's license. So her parents said, no driver's license for you. You said to your daughter, not only can you have a driver's license, you can also have a car. They didn't make that choice. You did. And if your daughter wasn't responsible enough not to safeguard that car and not give the keys to somebody who was not equipped to drive it, I don't see why they're responsible at all. The fact that you got $1,500 from the mother is a gift. He's not responsible. If she wants to do the right thing, she'll pay you back the money. So could a 3-year-old.
But she's still driving her mother's car.
So could it, at the time of this
without
incident,
a license.
that has nothing to do with it. Then if she's in an accident, then if she's driving her mother's car without a license, if the car is in an accident, they could lose their house, they could get their wages garnished, they could lose all their bank accounts. I'm talking about you and your daughter. You felt as if your daughter was responsible enough so that you could give her a brand new 2001 car and said to her, this is yours, be careful with it, be responsible with it. She acted irresponsibly. He did not give his daughter permission to drive that car. In effect, you did, because your daughter was acting as your agent. So I think that if you want to do the right thing from your now full-time job, you will see to it that your friend gets her money so that she is not responsible for these damages anymore. The fact that the insurance company disclaimed, there's a good reason for that. The insurance company disclaimed because they said you had no right to give an underage, uninsured person the keys to the car. I say the same thing. This case is over.
Why does that excuse you? They step out.
She came home and said she had an accident, and first she told me it was her.
He should have taken responsibility, never handed the keys to my daughter.
It caused a lot of tension, but we're still friends. I mean, it's money.
We're not.
Money's an object, friendships, forever.
I was just happy that she's alive.
Hello, bears.
ওয়েলকাম ব্যাক টু মাই চ্যানেল। কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই? আশা করি সবাই অনেক অনেক ভালো আছো, আর আমিও খুব ভালো আছি। তো আমি যখন তোমাদের সঙ্গে প্রোডাক্টের রিভিউ শেয়ার করি, সেখানে তোমরা অনেকেই কমেন্ট করো যে আপু আমাদের তো হচ্ছে বাজেট নেই, আমরা স্টুডেন্ট আছি, হাউস ওয়াইফ আছি, আমরা কিভাবে তো দামি দামি ক্রিম লোশন এগুলো হচ্ছে পারচেস করবো। তুমি আমাদের জন্য ঘরোয়া কিছু রেমেডিজ দেখাও যেগুলো হচ্ছে লাগিয়ে আমরা অনেক বেশি উপকার পাবো, আমাদের স্কিনটাকে আমরা ন্যাচারালি উজ্জ্বল রাখতে পারবো। তো হ্যাঁ, অবশ্যই আমিও ঘরোয়া রেমেডি একটা সময় ইউজ করেছি, তো সেজন্য জানি যে ঘরোয়া রেমেডি সত্যি কার্যকরী এবং সেটা অনেক বেশি উপকারী। তো সেজন্য হচ্ছে আজকে আমি আবারও একটা ঘরোয়া রেমেডি শেয়ার করবো, যেটার মাধ্যমে তোমাদের স্কিনটাকে উজ্জ্বল রাখতে পারবে। এই বসন্তকালে যেটা কিনা স্কিনটা অনেক বেশি ড্রাই থাকে, অনেক বেশি টানে স্কিনটা। দেখো আমি স্কিনটাকে, আমার হাতের স্কিনটাকে ময়শ্চারাইজ করছি, কিন্তু কোনো ময়শ্চারাইজ ভাব নেই, এটা এতটাই শুষ্ক হয়ে আছে। তো ওই কারণে হচ্ছে এই সময়টাতে একটু বেশি কিন্তু করা দরকার। যারা কিনা ক্রিম ইউজ করো তাদেরকেও বলতেছি তোমরা অবশ্যই ঘরোয়া রেমেডি মাঝে মাঝে ইউজ করো, তাহলে দেখবে তোমার স্কিনটা তোমরা অনেক বেশি ভালো রাখতে পারতেছো। তো যাই হোক, রেমেডিটা তৈরি করে নিলে প্রথমে তোমরা একটা টমেটো নিয়ে নেবে, টমেটোটা খুব ভালো মতো হচ্ছে ধুয়ে নেবে, খুব ভালো মতো ধুয়ে যেন একটা গ্রেটারের সাথে খুব ভালো মতো গ্রেট করে টেরিস মুজে রসটা সেটাকে আলাদা করে নিবে। আলাদা করে নেওয়ার পরে রসের মধ্যে তোমরা দিয়ে দিবে হচ্ছে 1 চামচ পরিমাণে বেসন, 1 চামচ পরিমাণে হচ্ছে মুলতানি মাটির গুঁড়ো, 1 চামচ পরিমাণে হচ্ছে তোমার লেবুর রস দিবে। আর যদি সম্ভব হয় তাহলে আলু করে তোমরা গ্রেট করে একটা রসটাকে আলাদা করে নিয়ে তার সঙ্গে দিয়ে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করবে, তাহলে দেখবে তোমাদের রেমেডিটা আরো বেশি কার্যকরী হয়ে যাচ্ছে এবং স্কিনটা তোমার আর বেশি ভালো থাকতেছে। তো সকল জিনিস খুব ভালো মতো গুলে একটা রেমেডি তৈরি করে নেবে, তোমার মুখটা খুব ভালো মতো ধুয়ে রেমেডিটা মুখের মধ্যে অ্যাপ্লাই করে দেন তোমরা এটাকে রেখে দিয়ে 20 থেকে 25 মিনিটের জন্য। 20 থেকে 25 মিনিট পর যখন রেমেডিটা খুব ভালো মতো শুকিয়ে যাবে তখন তোমরা এটাকে মুখ থেকে তুলে নেবে। তো আশা করি ভিডিও ভালো লেগেছে, ভালো লাগলে অবশ্যই লাইক করবে, চ্যানেলটা অবশ্যই সাবস্ক্রাইব করে দেখো। বাই বাই।